Well,
that was a mini boom, a milli boom.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm eating at the moment.
So's Jose on camera. Not very professional.
It's over.
It's over. We're all going to be arriving. Hurry up, Nick.
It's funny, Flat Earth Data and Gleam are throwing numbers at each other and they don't even know what they're talking about.
Well, boom. Oh. Guess it helps if I unmute before I start talking, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is that the real Stingray? I hope so.
Oh, God.
Did you enjoy that?
No, you don't hiccup when I eat chips. I'm going to go to bed now that I've held the fort.
Thank you so much.
That's all right. But, what is it? It's bloody 4:30 in the morning here.
Oh gosh, better get to bed now.
Yeah. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Have a good chat. Okay, bye.
Night,
Cheerio.
Bye, Quasar. Thank you.
No, it's Aussie.
It was always a Glowhead. Quasar is sleeping.
Bye.
Right, so where are we? Are we in Meet or I can't?
We're in Zoom.
We're in Zoom.
Oh, so I can quit Meet. Okay, that was Meet was what we were in. Zoom's better. Well, it's marginally better. Not really great, but it's marginally better. Because it's one tap to mute. On Meet, it's 2 taps. One to bring up the display to mute, and then half the time. This is a little bit better. Like,
I'm going to go one tap here.
Oh, really? If you just mind. Thing is, you can keep hitting mute and unmute as you talk. Sounds weird.
And now he's doing it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
After I'm going to do it the Sheets way and just do that.
Bloody mute him.
You ever seen that guy who was on British TV in the 70s, 80s, and he would talk and then pretend the mic was cutting out?
Yeah. Oh, what was his name?
So he would literally, well, it's good to eat, and then then he would be able to talk. Right?
Oh, can't remember his name.
Yeah,
Jim Davidson used to do it as well, didn't he?
Yes, he did. That's right.
Jim Davidson.
But it wasn't Jim Davidson who started it. It was somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Google.
The other one was,
Channel 8, you're very quiet. Your volume's quite low.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
I can't. That's the thing. I
I
can't.
think it's a quiet voice, right?
I'm just a softly spoken man. I'm trying to not be too loud. I can belch really loudly. You want to hear it?
No, thank you.
Oh, I did.
No,
I'm a gentleman. There's a lady present. I'm muted for the belch. Okay.
I've heard worse. I used to be a nurse. Don't worry.
Oh. So you know what smegma is then, don't you?
Yeah.
that reminds me. I forgot. Sorry, I forgot.
Someone's making a lot of noise.
Sorry, that was the washing machine going into.
Again,
the washing machine.
you know, the cleanest clothes in the country.
Well, I can't help it. Rosie decides that this is a good time to put washing on. Because Nathan hasn't got back from work yet. So there's time to run another load.
Good God, how many clothes to go through?
Well, we almost had a newcomer, Robert Cross. He was asking for, do you have a globe model? Where's your globe model? And so I engaged him a little bit. Come into the show, I said, and he said another time maybe. So he may be back in. I'll come back in and catch you then maybe. So he may be back in. That may be good. Because it's just typically you just get the same people over and over again. You know, like this tedious Scottish lady, you know.
Piss off.
Sorry, I was muted. I was making stupid noises.
You are Harris. Barney says. Barney, he say, no, you are just a high-res construct of my mind.
I think is that's towards me. It's some weird resolution joke that I don't know why it kind of still persists, but hey ho.
How's the black magic going, Stingray?
I haven't actually, Alan. I've had to take on I got poached by an Australian company to do a rather amazing piece of technology that I can't actually reveal what it is, but the black magic and the full stabilization electronic rig, along with a 4-lens set and some new professional LED lights, is now the world's, well, probably not the world's most expensive, but certainly my most expensive paperweight.
Oh dear.
I know, right?
So you have the BMP-CC 4K.
And I have a Moser Air 2 rig. I've got multiple Lumix cameras and lenses and some pretty decent glass. I've got external SSDs. I'm turning around to look at it. I've got external HD monitors. I've got a full LED lighting set. I've got XLR boost audio and a few professional mics for it, along with a lot of battery sets. I've got.
You know what's scary? I know everything you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I bought a new Manfrotto video fluid head and proper tripod and all this kind of stuff, and I haven't used it once.
You speak English next time, please.
I understood every word of that.
Listen,
yeah,
can
so did
Unpaid,
I, unfortunately.
Unpaid needs a mic check. If you could shush just for a second. Go Unpaid. Nothing. Okay.
So it's working then.
You see my face then? Okay. That's me. Hold on.
Oh, I see your hand. Yeah, I can see Unpaid's hand.
There you go. It's my Manfrotto.
Are they carbon legs as well?
No, they're just steel, I think, or aluminium.
They're the aluminium ones.
My grip head. That's my 7200. That's my rig. It's very, very basic. That's what I use to interview. And this looks bigger than it is. It's just very simple. That's it.
I've heard that
and then
before.
I use gracious. Then I used that's what I did the interviews, and I did the Flat Earthers interview. Mark Sargent with that very rig. Very simple. And then I didn't have any LED lights, so I used my regular lighting setup and just put the modeling lights on, and that's how I did it. Just turn the ISO way up. Bob's your uncle. Fanny's your aunt. Anybody there?
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see if Stingray was going to share. I think he's trying to figure it out.
I was.
Quiet.
Yeah, no, I was, but
Stingray.
Oh, you get it. There you go.
I love it. My kids' reaction.
through this Zoom
Damn,
app,
they're
you're supposed to be able to share your iPhone, and I've got a nice shiny iPhone 11 Pro Max here. And
Yeah, you should be. I can do it in the iPad, so the iPhone should work.
Yeah, and I was gonna just show you my paperweight.
Yeah,
Have you got an actual photo of it? I don't know how that works.
Take a picture and share that.
Is this the camera porn that we've been missing all these months, then?
Well, it's just it's just a paperweight, isn't it? That's it. So wait a minute, can I share a window of this? Oh yeah, I can. Quick time player. There we go. So I've done the world's next best thing. Can you see this?
Yes, we see it.
Yes. So.
Yeah.
So that is my world's. Let me. I'm using it as a drying rack for these at the moment, which is probably. I wash these for glasses and stuff, and for screens. And I just put them on there to dry. I just realised. So yes, my the lovely little paperweight. There you go.
Oh dear.
Nice rig. That's a nice rig. That is.
Yeah.
And considering the camera's what, 1,300, you can afford to do all the rest of that stuff and get out of there for under $3,000. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got a nice little electronic follow focus on it as well.
Oh, that's sweet. Look at that little drive on it. Converts your regular lenses into proper power zoom.
Check that. Oh, it just feels lovely. But Alan, I don't use it, so it's a paperweight.
Oh, it's okay. I can see it. I was going to say YouTube's not showing anything but your avatar. I see it now.
Well. Yeah, I just remember that I needed to swap it over.
Yeah, I can see it now. That's okay.
Actually, has anybody ever seen these before? I found this, and it still works. They've still updated the software on it. Let me share this again. I don't know why these didn't take off more. So, wait a minute, here we go. Can you see my phone again? Oh, are you ready? Ultra wide on the iPhone 11. Look at that. How amazing is that?
Ultra wide.
Yeah, I know. No, but this thing. Right, so can anybody guess what this is? It is.
Lens baby.
But what is it?
Is it a lens baby?
No.
It's not a lens baby. Kodak.
Right.
It's a little camera.
It is a full camera where the computing body is actually your phone.
There you go.
And it's got immense optical zoom as well.
Very nice.
Yeah, Sony do one and Kodak did one. I don't know why these didn't take off. Which is a bit of a shame because I thought, it gives you a decent high, medium to high quality actual dedicated camera, but using your smartphone as the brains of the operation. So. I need to sell some of this stuff because it just ends up paperweights in my office. And I'm a little bit distressed with Apple at the moment. They're pissing me off a bit.
Why?
No.
Because they screwed up the Mac operating system release. They screwed up the iOS release, and they've missed my Mac Pro release that I entirely expected a week. It's not up for order yet. I can't order a Mac Pro. I expected to be able to order one weeks ago.
You still can't order one?
No, and it's pissing me off now because I'm stuck with this. I'm stuck with my Mac Pro from 2013, and I need ultimate computing power, not 2013 computing power.
Well.
Oh, these first world problems.
Oh, it is.
I have a friend who's running Adobe Premiere. He's actually the one that's going to be editing films I'm doing. And he's got a Mac Pro. He went and bought one about 2 years ago. I can't remember when it was. And I thought, I thought, you're crazy. It's already out of date, etc. But he said, no, it's got the specs I need, and so he bought one. He didn't max it out, but he got it with some good specs. And I just spoke to him a month or so ago about the computer. He said, "How's it going?" And he said, "It's absolutely fantastic. I don't get beach balling. Premiere runs great on it, much faster than his old cheese grater."
Oh
Yeah,
no, absolutely. I mean, I went from a cheese grater 12 core to a trash can 12 core, and it's maxed out. It's got 100. No, actually, I think it's only got 64 gig of memory, but 24 thread 12 core setup, which is the most you could get in it. It's got 2 terabyte, massively fast Intel SSD, but it's out of date. It's out of date to the tune of about nearly 7 years now.
But the thing is,
I shouldn't be using 7-year-old hardware to do what I'm doing.
It's more a case of for him. It's more a case of, because we spoke about that, and it's more a case of does it get the job done?
No.
And for him it most certainly does. And
right. I've got 2 problems with it.
Go ahead.
One is the graphics capability on it. The D500 Fire OpenGLs are absolutely a bag of crap. I have got an external GPU here, which has got a Vega 56 in it, and I did use that. But they removed support for it.
Externals.
They removed support for it on my Mac, which is fine because I use it on a MacBook Pro for my girlfriend to game on and stuff like that. So I don't actually give a shit. But the CPU on this, even though it's the maxed out and the best you can get, compared to the max of the new one coming out, is about 5 times slower. And you ask me, does that matter? Well, yes, because in the current project, I've got to train machine learning containers with a shit ton of data, and I plan on leaving them over the weekend. And if it means I can iterate and get a 5 times better result, then yes, I want the Big Mac Pro in the same amount of time.
The new one is just absurd. Do you know anybody who is even considering getting the reference mark for the what's it called? I forgot what it's called now. It's got the monitor display rather.
Oh God, no! I don't. Yeah. No, I don't want the monitor. But you see, what I negotiated with the place that kind of poached me, this Australian company. One of the key points was that they buy me a maxed out Mac Pro as an incentive, and they agreed to it.
I want to say this right now. I hate you. Okay.
Well, you don't really know me. And all I did was I wanted a joining gift, and that's what I chose. And they said, "Yep, not a problem. Just spec it out and send us the details." And I let them full well. There's no price on it, but I let them know that it would be in between, the prices that I thought it would be for a spec that I wanted.
Right.
And they said, "Yeah, not a problem." So I've been sat here with a gift. It's a gift that I can't order or take up on because of Apple. Not happy.
Yeah, they'll get it together. So everyone in the chat can get bored. Sorry, just what Apple did is they came out with a monitor, and the monitor specs are just absurd. So in movie making and in other areas, you have these things called reference monitors, and they are super precise, calibrated monitors. And Sony produces them. Also, different companies produce them, and they are very, very expensive. And typically you buy one, and it'll be 15-inch or smaller or something around there. But that is the monitor you use to get absolute accuracy on color and everything else. Okay. What Apple did is they came out with a monitor that is as good as that. It's thin, is like 2 centimeters thin, and is $5,000, which is completely pulls the rug out from under everybody else. So that's what was remarkable about that. We can talk about something else now because I think people are probably going to get bored if they're still here at all.
No, I just want to add something to that, just to really bore people. But this won't bore people actually. But my my girlfriend walked in on the Apple conference when there was when I was watching it live on one of the Apple TVs that we've got, and she goes, "Oh, £1,000 and odd for a monitor. You're going to get one." I went, "That's not the monitor. That's the stand that the monitor sits on." I know, right? I got to say that. I think it was just so funny.
$9.99 for the stand.
Yeah.
Because most people have a stand anyway. Most people will have a what is it
Visa
called?
mount, yeah.
It's called Visa mount. Yeah. And so fun. Yeah, that I watched that too on one of our 3 Apple TVs. All right. Anyone else want to talk about the UFO? Who's in here?
I enjoy not being part of Flat Earth anymore, by the way. I think it's amazing. I think everybody ought to try it.
I tell you what.
Well, actually, I was going to say, Steve, of late, these after shows have tended to be a lot of stuff, mostly not Flat Earth. Mostly just chatting about
Mic check.
interesting stuff. We hear you now.
Microphone check. All right. Hot damn. Yay. It's amazing what a little debugging will do.
There you go.
All right. I'll be quiet now.
Yep.
The irony is palpable.
Yeah, it's been quite good having varied conversations about varied stuff that's not necessarily Flat Earth.
I just got sick of. I just got sick of Flat Earth in general. Well, no, I got sick of everything about it. I realised that the entire efforts that I listen to and go through and participate in, along with everybody else on this channel, everybody else in this chat, are going towards convincing an ungrateful, most of the time dishonest and disingenuous group of people that I'm trying to get them into my reality and my world of commerce and technology. Why? These people are not going to be productive in my world. I'm just there thinking, yep, leave them where they are. That's it. I've had enough. And that was my entire kind of take on it. And I know it seems a bit heartless, but yeah.
It does, but it's you know, I struggled with this because basically, if you okay in the chat when whoever it was that came in there and started saying no, when it wasn't in there, the chat was perfectly amicable, and even though we could have disagreements, it's still a reasonable chat. Okay, and if someone goes out of line, they're open to being, to saying, look, I'm sorry, I was out of line, and then we sort of move on. Interesting for me is I'm seeing a pattern, and I'm now that I've noticed the pattern, I'm paying attention to it. It's the tendency for the flat Earth believers to come in and say, "Don't look at this, don't look at that, don't talk about this, don't talk about that." So why are you looking up to explain what's under your feet? And when someone does that, you have to ask yourself why are they telling you what you shouldn't be looking at, shouldn't be saying? Also, don't imagine, don't have an imagination, don't theorize, don't speculate. Just stay right here. You can't look at the Bible in that way. You can't look at space this way. You can't look at, you have to sort of like stay within this one little, and that sort of really does say to me that in their minds they have this one little thing. They're in this dome, and it's not moving. That's all it is, and that's essentially intellectually, and if you will mentally, that's where they are. They're in this one little static place. Don't look up. Don't imagine. Don't dream. Just stay right here. That, in my mind, flies completely against human nature. It's just a complete you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm trying to say. It's a complete, almost like how I'm saying this. It's like an insult, if you will. It's like saying to people, you shouldn't be dreaming and you shouldn't be imagining. And that's just not what human beings are all about.
X, are you triggered again?
No, I'm as I look at this and as we go through, I mean, Stingray, yeah, is experiencing the same thing. We're being told what you can't look at, what you shouldn't look at, and trying to talk to people who basically consider everything to be a lie and a hoax and a psyop and everything.
Well, you have to ask yourself a fundamental question of why are you engaging with them, or why do you add credence or any kind of need to convince the other person, the flat earther, that the world is round? Why? Is it because you want to correct a mistake? Is it? Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I'm not there for the people who already believe. I'm there for the ones that are on the fence, that are in the process of being conned into it.
I get it. I absolutely get that, and I partially agreed, but not anymore. And the reason I don't agree anymore is the analogy that I give, and I'm sure some people have heard me give this just before a quick flat Earth, is you've got a guy on a street corner and is looking up at the sky and he's saying the sky is red, the world's going to end in a week. The sky is red, the world's going to end in a week. And everybody's walking past this guy and they just think, oh my God, that dickhead's crazy. And they carry on because the sky's blatantly blue and the world's not going to end in a week. And then you have a VFX specialist, a software engineer, and 3 scientists and 2 engineers stand and start conversing with this guy. Now, my question is, does that add more credence to a crazy man? And I have to say, yes, it does.
The other perspective, that's a very good perspective. The other perspective that I have deliberated on is that if a person is in a position where they can accept the idea that the earth is flat, then that person basically has already is already in that position, if you know what I mean. It's not that they can be converted, but they're already to actually seriously consider it. They have to be in a place where they have a very limited understanding of scientific principles and or are open to suggestion or easily influenced.
The other point, and I'm really sorry, and this is probably selfish, and it's probably I don't like thinking this way. I don't like thinking this way, but I have now come to think this way. Is I mean, that analogy I can take one step further, and that little step is for the people on the fence that lack the aptitude to look at the available information and evidence and not be gullible and come to a sound conclusion. Do I want them in my reality if their conclusion is I don't know? And I'm really sorry, the answer is no. If they come to the conclusion that the world is flat or I don't know, no, I'm really sorry. No, please leave my world.
Well,
so
I had a nephew that was a chemtrailer for about 2 years. And after 2 years of me, countering every argument he came up with, he finally just told me one day, he goes, you know what? I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong. So that gives me some hope.
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm not saying, I'm saying this. So my opinion and my lack of effort now is entirely a reflection on me and nobody else. Obviously, I don't think you all should stop doing this because I don't know what you get out of it. I would want people to spend. The only thing that I would say is the effort that I used to spend on trying to convince flat earthers and speak on panels and debating, I now put towards more constructive means within society, which are a lot more fulfilling than trying to convince the world's entire group of flat earthers, probably numbering no more than 2,000 or 3,000. I'm now putting more positive energy into something that makes an actual difference and can cascade down. That time is very important. That's all we have as actual currency in this world.
Anyway, they and them has his hand raised, and I think he would like to point something out to us.
Just that I'm a Muppet. I am a Muppet, and I forgot to put my hand down.
And I also do notice that he does say we're meant to be speaking about aliens and not Max.
Wait a minute, what's a hand up? What is it? What is this hand up?
There's options in Zoom. It's quite good. You can put your hand up.
How do you put your hand
up? Are you
go to participants?
Are you on mobile?
His phone. Yeah, yes.
No, I'm on the Mac.
Well, you're on Mac. Go to participants.
Yeah, 11.
Click it, and you'll see. Just click on your name.
Oh yeah, little blue hand raised. Oh, Starship Trooper, hand up.
I want to speak. I want to speak. Shut up.
Oh. It's kind of handy when it gets a bit manic because you can at least see people who want to say something. And theoretically, as the moderator, you can actually mute everybody and then just unmute them one at a time as they put their hands up to speak. So
nice. I like this, Al. I think it's good. High five. There we go.
So it means you can control who's talking. If people are just constantly over talking each other, I can just hit the mute all and the don't allow them to unmute themselves button, and then tell them, when you want to say something, raise your hand, make a comment, but I don't think we'll have that quite so much of a problem now because the biggest cause for the person requiring us to use the hands up managed to get himself banned.
Like my setup.
Oh, wait a minute. How did I go to? Can someone put me? Oh, wait a minute. Let me raise my hand. There we go.
No, carry on, speak. You don't need to.
How did someone just went full screen on one of my monitors on this chat? Is that something that happens automatically?
Yeah, the Zoom app on a desktop does like to make itself go full screen when somebody does a screen share.
But I can make it go full screen it's the iPad, so I can pinch in and out.
So, yeah, it's one of those things. It depends on how you have Zoom configured. By default, Zoom will want to go full screen when somebody screen shares to you.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I like it. Do you pay for this then, Al?
I would have to if I wasn't able to use Terry Davis's Zoom. That's the other.
Good old Terry.
Because that's the other thing. Okay. You can pass the host role around. So if I had to go off quickly for a personal comfort break or something, I could then hand off the control to somebody else, so that they can let them in through the as we term it, rubber room, and it's. I kind of think I like it a little bit better than Meets now.
I like it.
Oh, and there's a whiteboard feature if it was turned on. We tend to leave it turned off because it's enabled. By default, it's enabled for everybody, and I'm not quite sure how you only enable it for the host.
And we tend to draw all over the pictures and things.
Yeah, because the problem is everybody starts doing stupid stuff. Don't they?
It's been known. So did John come in? No.
John
Watson.
I didn't see him. I expected him because he said see you in the.
Right.
I thought
he might appear then.
I thought you said something about seeing you in the after show, or was that Channel X?
Might be Channel X.
Well, I just heard you say Channel X. I wasn't paying attention to anything anyone was saying.
Sorry. Well, bye, Stingray.
Stingray's leaving.
Yeah, I said in the chat.
Yeah, no, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'll come here in a sec. Yeah. I just came in because I tuned in. Sometimes I listen to Jose's show a few times, and then this time was different. And I just wanted to point out to everybody early on what UFO was, and that you're not actually making a positive claim. You're making a positive towards a neutral claim of I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And then I heard that you were running an after show, Alan. I just wanted to see what Zoom was like, just out of interest. But yes, I don't think I'll be back again for quite a while.
Oh.
Stingray, can you do me a
there's
favour?
John.
If
I think that's John.
Let me post my email in the side chat here in a second. Can you grab it and send me a quick hi?
Yeah, we'll do.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yay!
Yes,
Hello.
we hear you.
What? Yeah. I was having a quick look for that for the video from Jupiter. I've got it somewhere, but yeah, I was I went through a phase about 5 years ago of doing lots of images of Jupiter, and in particular what you call shadow transits. So when the moons pass in front of Jupiter and they cast their shadow onto the surface, and I used to make time lapses of it. So I'd, like every couple of minutes, it takes about an hour and a half or something like that for one of the moons to pass in front. So I take a picture take a series of frames every couple of minutes, and then make it into a frame for a time lapse. But I was watching the video come in, and I saw something else on the screen, and it was it appeared to be in the Jovian system, and it was also casting a shadow on Jupiter, and it was about because there's a plane of inclination, like an orbital plane of Jupiter. The moons all travel on, and it was inclined at about 45 degrees to that plane, and it seemed that it was about less than a quarter of the size of the moon. I can't remember which moon it was, one of the Galilean moons. So it was a good few hundred miles in size. But the thing that was really odd about it was that the velocity. I mean, it takes, as I say, it takes about an hour and a half for a moon to pass in front of Jupiter, and this thing transited. It didn't go like right across Jupiter. It went from sort of 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, if you know what I mean, in about 30 seconds. And that's really fast. And I couldn't, you know, I was quite uncertain about what I was looking at, and I thought, is there something? How could that be appearing on the video? You know, I thought, Christ, there's a fly on the bloody front of the telescope or something. And there was, I cleaned the optics; it was still there. But the thing was, it was casting a shadow, just like the moon I was also looking at. I scoured as much information as I possibly could. There was no record of anything in the system at the time, and even then, there is no object like that with that orbit or anything. So I never actually mentioned it to when I worked at the observatory. So it's the kind of thing you just don't say anything about.
No, who's going to believe me?
And I've never actually really spoken to anyone about
generally fully interested.
But yeah, I couldn't. You know, I'm quite a sort of logical kind of person. I couldn't think of how it was how it could be explained by. I mean, it certainly seemed that it was something that was actually in the Jovian system that was traveling at a very, very high velocity and casting its own shadow. I could see the object and its shadow. Yeah, so fuck knows what that was.
What about an intermediate object? What about an intermediate object?
Between us and Jupiter?
Right. I mean, it is beyond the asteroid belt.
Well, the thing is, though, that it appeared to be in the like the inner orbit of the Galilean moons.
Okay, what lent you? Yeah, what lent you that belief?
Well, you've got when you look at the moons transiting Jupiter, the proximity means that of the moons to Jupiter means that the shadow that they cast is a very similar size to the moon that's casting the shadow. If you know what I mean?
Right.
So if there was a distance like that, it wouldn't cast the same.
Oh, so it also casts a shadow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that part.
Of a similar size to the to the object itself.
Okay, I didn't catch that part.
I mean, if it hadn't cast a shadow, I don't think I would have just thought that's something or other. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I wouldn't have given it any other thought.
Yeah.
But I think it was the fact that it cast a shadow. I thought, what the fucking hell was that?
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll have to have a look because it's not particularly good footage because the way that I was shooting the time lapse was like every couple of minutes, I say, taking several hundred frames and not actually using all of them. You know, all the frames would be graded for quality, and then throw most of them away, and use the best ones for to make each individual frame of the time lapse. So the actual raw video isn't it's not that great, but it's certainly clear enough to actually see what I'm talking about. But yeah, but I've seen a that's the one that I'm not sure I'll ever find out what that was. But I've
Probably
seen
not.
No. I've seen a few objects in the sky that even quite recently, about a month ago, that I'm really not sure what at all what it was. I mean, it doesn't stuff that doesn't behave like a satellite or an aircraft or anything that I've seen in the sky for looking at up in the sky for years and years. Sometimes if you see something that doesn't behave like anything else that you've ever seen, it really sticks out like a sore thumb. And added with the fact, that obviously I'm able to, draw on a lot of resources to find out what's actually in the sky, even, stuff like military stuff. And there's no record of anything. And you're left thinking,
or left with nothing to think about.
Yeah, but again, there's still no reason to believe that it was any kind of extraterrestrial intelligence. But certainly something that was, as hard as I might try, I couldn't identify what it was. And I, being a person that used to man the phones at the observatory to ensure people didn't think that they were going to get abducted by the planet Venus, etc.
Well, then I think that should fall in a category that I'll just create, and I'll call it a UO, an undismissible object.
Yeah, but
so you couldn't find the bit of video though.
I've got it somewhere. It's on the hard. I think it's on my. I've changed laptops since then. So it's I've got it somewhere.
No, you need to get it uploaded so that it's safe. That it's not just on a single hard drive.
Yeah.
Posted a drive. I don't know whether it's any good. Posted a video about earlier.
Well, regardless of how certain I am and how kind of obvious it is to me that this object is as I described it. I mean, the reason why I never mentioned it to anybody. I mean, I don't think any astronomer really would take it very seriously. To be honest, I think they would just say, "Well, it's a something or other," and there's no telling what it is or making any kind of like proper measurement of its size other than comparing it against the moon. It was no, I can't remember which one it is, but they're all roughly the same size. They're all like ballpark about moons are about the size of our moon, so like 2,000 miles in diameter or something like that. So it was quite large and very fast, whatever it was. Yeah. It would have probably, if I'd have been a bit younger, it would have probably turned me into a fully fledged conspiracy theorist. Yeah.
And see, the situation I had was I saw something up in the sky that it was, I guess for lack of a better term, I'll call it a very thick line. And it seemed to like ripple around the edges, and it was just slowly moving off, in the distance away from me. And the best thing that I can come up with that could possibly be, the reason for this is it was just a bunch of birds that were flying, one right behind the other, and that rippling effect was, their wings moving or something. I don't know. But that was my UFO. I'm not sure what it was because there were some things about it, some sensations I got that it wasn't birds, but it could be explained by that, So all I'm left with is some conjecture.
Well, if you ever find the footage, I'd love to see it, John.
Yeah, you might be underwhelmed.
Yeah. No, it would still be interesting.
Definitely.
I'd still like to see it.
Yeah, same here.
But it's, I mean, I'm really, really skeptical of. I don't mean in a snobbish way, but if a member of the public or somebody who's not really very familiar with the night sky says that they've seen something, there's all kinds of things that people can be absolutely convinced that they've seen something really, really odd. I mean, particularly with Venus during the day, it's like if at certain times it's bright enough that it shines very, very noticeably in daylight, and if there's nothing else in the sky, it's a cloudless sky. To a lot of people, it seems like it's moving, or they would swear blind. Like everywhere I looked, it was following me, and they don't. It's easier for them to imagine that the direction their car was driving coincided with the position of Venus. It's more easy for them to imagine that this light in the sky was actually following them. And yeah, I mean, you would kind of predict the influx of phone calls with the appearance of Venus. You'd actually have to sort of plan for it, like who's going to take a stint on the phones, kind of thing. It's but yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are certainly things that really just can't be explained, but it's not a sign that it's necessarily ET. Yeah.
Yeah, Venus is very, very bright, isn't it? Like you say, you can see it quite early on and quite late on when it's either the evening or morning star.
Yeah, I mean, as well, if you see it, I think particularly if you see it through a like a car windscreen, you get really prominent diffraction spikes. You know, it's not just a point of light, depending on how dirty your windscreen is or whatever. And you know, it can be really, really eye-catching.
I can actually remember, you know, sort of like driving places in the evening, and the kids when they were younger, they would often say, "What's that bright light in the sky?"
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
Saturn.
and you have a quick look and you say, "Well, it's probably Venus because it's the right time of day for, you know, it's the right time for seeing Venus because it's."
Yeah. But yeah, and even Saturn, and maybe to a lesser extent Jupiter as well, do it sometimes, depending if they're in opposition. But yeah, and there's, you know, I'd still say that, you know, there's a lot of what do you call it, military stuff. You know, there's when the stealth bomber and stealth fighter were being developed. I was really into airplanes and stuff at the time, and it was kind of common knowledge that they would prefer that somebody thought it was a spaceship.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, there's always stuff that the military would rather people didn't know about. I don't think it's much for us, but certainly for the Americans, where they've got the room to have that level of secrecy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be really, really hard for us to develop an aircraft like the SR-71 or the F-117 in the UK because we just don't have the room to test it.
Yeah, you couldn't hide. You couldn't hide a Blackbird
No.
test flight in England. Yeah,
no, that's the sort of thing we would have test flown in Australia, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Australia's the place. Have you heard about the nuclear device that was detonated in the outback? No one heard of that?
Yeah, I know we nuked a chunk of Australia as well as some of the outlying islands.
Now, this was quite recently. There is no record of any nuclear power doing it, and it's suspected that some scoundrel was actually testing a nuclear weapon in the outback.
Oh no, I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, I think they did find evidence of it, but they just kind of came and went. But yeah, I think they realised it had happened because it was registered on seismographs, and they were able to triangulate the position.
Well, that's. I mean, that is why the geologists have that lovely array of seismographs all around the world, isn't it? Really, it's nothing at all to do with seismology. It's all to do with making sure people don't cheat on the nuclear testing treaties.
Well,
and we can let the scientists use it in between, or
You know that there's a village near me called Comrie, and its nickname is the Shaky Toon, and it's one of the first places. I think it might be the first place to have a purpose-built kind of seismograph station, because it's right on the Highland fault line. And we do get earthquakes here. Not as like the ones that last for ages and cause lots of damage. Obviously.
I actually remember feeling one in Norfolk in about 93, 94.
Yeah.
It was I was at university at the time. We were sitting in a lecture theatre, which was kind of perched on top of, which had been sort of built as an extra block on top of the building, and it wobbled just ever so slightly. It was like, we were like, what the hell just happened? I don't know. And then later, of course, it was on the news that there had actually been an earthquake.
Yeah, I think there was. I remember when I grew up. I grew up here. I remember maybe 3 or 4 times, but it was just like a bang. I remember walking back from the bar to my table in the pub with 3 pints in my hands, and everyone's glasses on the tables just went chink, and everyone stopped talking for about 2 or 3 seconds, and then everything just went on as normal. And I seemed to be the only one in the whole place who was like, "What was that? What the fuck was that?" And yeah, was the statement was on the news afterwards. Once my dad, I thought that I'd got drunk and crashed his van into the side of the house. Apparently he heard this massive bang, and that's what came to his mind for some reason, and he stormed to the front door and flung it open to start shouting at me, and there was nothing there. It had actually been an earthquake. But thanks for the vote of confidence, Dad. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I've been. I don't know if anyone's heard of this guy. There's a guy called Isaac Arthur on YouTube, who is a sort of science fiction-y kind of guy who talks about how the rest of the universe might be populated by us or by other civilizations. It's definitely worth a listen. He sounds a bit like Elmer Fudd in quite a charming way. But he talks about all kinds of stuff. Just in the same way that we were talking today, just what if this, what if that? If you had this problem, how might it be overcome? It's a really fascinating topic. One thing that I think about was that.
Go ahead.
I was just saying. I won't go on for ages, but just the morality, the sort of morality, kind of ethics, kind of standpoint of if we, at some point we will have to leave here as a species, and if spaceflight hasn't been kind of fully conquered, as it were, people will live and die on generation ships who never asked to be put on a generation ship. People will live out their lives on a spacecraft before getting to the destination. It starts to become quite a complex issue if you really sort of think about all the pitfalls. But anyway,
video posted in chat.
What were you?
I was just going to say that I'd be interested in finding out from each member of the panel what would be your thoughts on what proof would you need to begin saying, okay, there's definitely extraterrestrial intelligence and they're visiting us?
I would need probed.
Yeah, you just like being probed.
I would need to be violated by a leggy blonde Venusian alien. That's just me.
Okay, now jokes aside,
that was not a joke.
A reputable
sorry.
source.
Sorry.
A reputable source and video for me.
Okay.
Landing in the mall.
Probably multiple.
Landing simultaneously in the mall in London and on the White House lawn in Washington, D.C.
Fair enough. Anyone else care to chime in?
Ding.
For me, it would have to be. It would have to be
Yes.
at minimum, multiple reputable sources and video evidence, and ultimately face-to-face meeting. That would be ideal.
Face-to-face with you or face-to-face with the reputable sources?
With me, that would be ideal. But yeah, that's probably not going to happen. So I would be okay with multiple reputable sources, video evidence, and continuing exploration of this new species that has arrived, either through linguistics, trying to speak and communicate, or biology, dissection or whatever you want to call it.
I mean, also, like in the movies, if there's just a big old raid and they start bombing our cities and shit, that might give me a clue.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be that could be written off as maybe the proverbial Russian
ships that defy our technology.
Oh, okay, so you're talking like the video game Space Invaders.
Right.
Gotcha.
Now, I did post a video from this guy named Math something or other, and he goes over a reasonable over a paper that was done by like an MIT student regarding a particular relativistic kind of drive, which should be able to get to about half the speed of light in like a year. I thought that was kind of cool, but I had no idea what the fuck he was talking with the Lorentz contraction and stuff, how they were actually getting motion out of that. So, for somebody who actually understands this shit.
It's a brain drainer. I mean, I like to think that I've got a pretty good head on my shoulders, but then I run across, stuff like that, and I begin to think, I ain't that smart.
They also have some nuclear options, which can apparently, it seems like half is always the number, but they have two type of nuclear engines. One is like basically detonation of nuclear weapons behind your ship, and the other one is what do you call it? Using it as a thermal accelerator, where it accelerates mass using heat. And they're both nuclear options. They're supposed to be able to have specific impulses that are outrageous and actual reasonable thrusts. Talking Mars in like 17 days and stuff like that.
What I think would be interesting would be using gravity as a drive. Figure out some way to have gravity accelerating the ship forward rather than towards the nearest mass.
Yeah, toss a little black hole in front of you, type of thing.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Like
but at a distance, a great distance.
Yeah, that's all coming into right now. We haven't even figured out any of that stuff. So I mean, the two that I posted are ones that are on the fringe of science, like physical within our energy, within reasonable energy constraints, and doable today within or doable today or within the next 10 years. And those were both
feasible,
impressive. Yeah,
feasible stuff. Yeah, I can't foresee any kind of gravity drive. We know too little about it to harness it in that manner. Yeah. But it does raise some interesting questions about, if it were possible, would that be an effective method of driving a ship?
I don't know. Somebody had said earlier, I don't know if it was today, but we're talking about artificial intelligence and how we aren't likely to achieve that anytime soon. We're actually always one invention away from a logarithmic change. You know, just somebody has to come up with that brilliant next step, and we could go artificial intelligence in weeks. Same with gravity drive. One invention away. As soon as we figure out how to make a graviton, we all of a sudden have a whole new world open to us.
Well, I'm actually in the middle of something that might rewrite how people look at electrical generators. So, yeah, it's an idea that I've been carrying around in my head for 40 years, and
cool.
You know, it might be coming to fruition. It's not anything that breaks laws of physics, but it sure does make people those that have looked at the math behind it have said this is really, really interesting, and we've not seen anything like it before. So
fucks with efficiency like crazy.
Yeah. Like it does things that I didn't even think possible, and I'm the one that conceived of this. So and it has been tested practically. A prototype has been made, and it's quite pleasing to me to see this idea come to fruition.
Cool. I have to pop off, so I'm going to, ladies and gentlemen, to chatting. I will talk to you again. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hi,
Captain.
Channel.
See you, Channel.
Take care, everybody. See ya.
Yeah, but as far as your I'm not being facetious or not being obnoxious here, but as far as your magic device goes, get it fucking patented so you can tell us about it. Damn it.
That's what we're actually in the process of doing at this point.
Right.
And if it is something that actually works and does, this is very early stages. This might be something that, you know, the measurements were off, the mathematics were off, and it's just bullshit. We don't know yet. But so far, everything looks good. And if that is indeed the case, it should be patentable. And if that is indeed the case, then yeah, by all means. But I've been carrying this around in my head for, like I said, 40 years. And, you know, at first, when I first conceived of this, the materials to make it basically didn't exist. Now material science has improved to the point that the materials do exist, and they're within the realms of reasonable costs, and you know, these things can start being made now. So that's why it's taken so long.
You know, Travis was having a similar issue like that when Jose did his break, and we were chatting a little bit while Jose was doing his presentation. In that, it's like he can't believe that we could develop solid state electronics so quickly. And another thing was that it was actually more of a material science engineering problem, harnessing scientific knowledge. Well, yeah, with the silicon, but it was harnessing. It was the engineering being able to harness the science that we already knew.
Putting it to practical use.
And put it to practical, yeah, and the fact that we were then able to develop lasers and stuff so that we could actually make so that we could make stuff smaller and smaller and smaller, because that's one of the problems. Is, you need to use ultraviolet lithography and X-ray lithography to create the masks for laying down for laying down stuff on
the wafers.
On the wafers, because obviously it's to make stuff smaller you have to make it with shorter and shorter wavelengths of light or of EM waves to lay down the etching.
Yep.
I believe that was Maxwell, by the way. Was
it Maxwell? Sorry. Yeah. I get confused when people don't have their normal names.
Yeah. He was no subscription needed or something.
Yeah, that was it. I'm not very good at recognizing people's voices.
Well, sometimes, a leap forward in technology is dependent on making a connection, not necessarily inventing something new. And a good example of this is George Boole. I'm pretty sure that most folks know who that is, or at least are aware of him. He was a mathematician and lived in I believe, the mid 1800s, early to mid 1800s, and he created Boolean algebra, which had absolutely no use whatsoever. Everybody looked at this and were like, yeah, okay, that's cute, but what are you going to do with it? Well, it finally started having a use when the telephone system was invented, and they needed a way to dial numbers. And then it became, part of computer culture, and now it's a necessary, fundamental, foundational part of digital electronics. But when it was invented, it had no use.
Actually, I think the very, very first computer programming would have used Boolean logic. About that time as well. Good old Ada Lovelace. She was designing programs for Babbage's computing engine. Did I say something?
Was it something I said?
No, I was looking for another name briefly. I want to say Gloria or something like that. A lady that died not long ago, but she was instrumental in bringing about digital electronic computers. And she worked for the Navy, if I recall correctly. She was in the Navy, if I recall correctly. And the name just slips my mind at the moment, but very, very instrumental. And yeah, they were definitely using Boolean algebra, Boolean logic to streamline calculations, to build circuits. Any digital circuit that you have, you're going to use Boolean algebra, Karnaugh maps, things like this to simplify the circuit. Because for those that might not know, what you do is you create, a very a draft one of your logic. How do you want it to perform? And then you use this thing called a Karnaugh map to show you how it can be simplified by combining different, true, false, or yes, no results into, like a single logic gate, so that you can simplify that circuit, but still get the outputs that you need from the inputs that you get. And that's another thing. The Karnoff maps that were invented back in the 1800s. So all this information manipulation methods, of Boolean algebra, Karnoff maps, and whatnot, were 100 odd years old before they even had a purpose. And the person that made the connection that said, "Hey, we can use this to do that," those are the people that help supply the spark for that explosion in technology. And that to me is just as important as those people that are the fuel for that explosion.
That's it. Dory Niku posted in side chat. Hedy Lamarr, I think, is the person you're thinking of. She was in Blazing Saddles, amongst many other movies. But she was also, hugely instrumental in.
Well, I'm also, for some reason, the name Hooper is kind of tickling the back of my mind, and I don't know if that's correct, but for some reason, Hooper and Gloria or something like that is
Hooper's
lodged somewhere in my brain.
Hooper's Richard Dreyfuss's character in Jaws. That's in use. Hooper.
Yeah, and also you had Mr. Hooper running the grocery store on Sesame Street.
It's the start of a conspiracy theory right there.
It is. Yeah, it's all about the Hoopers. But yeah, for some reason that name's sticking, and I'm probably wrong. I would be shocked if I was right about that name. But yeah, I think the people that connect those technologies together are very important as well. They don't invent anything new, but they provide a link that sparks a whole new paradigm. And I just killed chat.
The thing that strikes me about the claim that new technology of ours is reversed engineered from an advanced civilization is not good enough. Our technology. I mean, if something came here with the technology that they must necessarily have to traverse space, and all they gave us was CCD sensors, I would be a bit disappointed. You know what I mean? It's if some technology appeared that was just completely, literally out of this world, yeah, but not the sort of natural progression of our technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything suspicious in that subject at all, to be honest.
Well, I can't see alien technology and Area 51 being reverse engineered and used in everyday life and all that stuff. It just I just can't buy it. Groom Lake is a testing facility where they're testing bleeding edge technology, which is why they are really, really buggy about keeping people out.
Yeah.
It's Groom Lake, by the way, is the actual official name of Area 51.
Indeed.
But it's if you're testing a plane that is invisible to radar effectively, you're not going to want everybody to see this thing. You're not going to want the potential enemies to be able to get their hands on video of it and that sort of thing. So yeah, they're going to be kind of buggy about keeping people out. Yeah, so I can totally understand it.
Can I just thank Chris? I'm now going to butcher Chris's surname. So I'm not even going to try. Sorry, Chris. Don't want to do it. in the side chat, he reminded me of Hedy Lamarr, who was involved in development radar. Plus, there was also
yes.
From Peter G. Grace Hooper, U.S. Admiral, that was influential in moving away from.
That's it. Grace Hooper. Yes, it was Grace, and I kept thinking Gloria or something like that, but
yeah.
Okay, all right.
And Hedy Lamarr was big in radar in the during the war, and she was also in the U.S. If I remember correctly, she was in the U.S. Navy or was involved with the U.S. Navy development of radar.
Yeah, Peter G. Was that Hopper or Hooper? Because my mind, I'm not. I don't remember everything perfectly. So.
Yeah, I just realised I read that as Hooper, not Hopper. That's all that talk of Hooper, wasn't it? There you go. I guess we're going to need a bigger boat.
Close. Yeah, Chris? Why don't you come in and join the chat?
Yeah, thank you for that, Chris. Cat Solis.
Yeah, Chris has been a good contributor in the YouTube chat. I appreciate.
Yeah,
I appreciate his presence. And sometimes even young Tahuti, I appreciate just for stirring the shit.
Yeah. Yeah, we welcome everybody onto the panel if they want to come and chat.
Sure. And, I don't bite unless you want to pay extra.
And they don't even have to talk the first time if they really don't want to. Just come on.
You can just listen without delay.
Yeah, and get used to the idea that you can actually speak if you want to.
So yeah, come on, join up. Let's chat. You can listen to the panel without delay. Just sit back and listen if you want, or chime in and throw your 2 bits into the ring. But as far as UFOs, I try to take a very skeptical approach. That you have to exhaust as many terrestrial sources as possible. And fortunately, it's really hard to run out of sources for terrestrial explanations. Okay. Well, go ahead and eat your lunch, Chris. Enjoy it.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, and Shields, what you were saying about developing aircraft that you can't see on radar hasn't worked yet, unfortunately.
Well, that's why I said, essentially or effectively. I believe I said that.
Yeah,
because no plane is ever going to be invisible.
Because I remember all the fuss that was made of the F-117, the old Nighthawk.
Yeah, all it does is it just gives a smaller ping back.
Yeah, the system I worked on had 3 power levels: low power mode, normal power mode, and high power mode. And we could see an F-117 at maximum at the radar's absolute maximum range in low power mode.
Nice.
We could,
but it gave less signal back, though, right?
Yeah, but we could detect a 1 square meter target at 450 kilometers.
Nice.
There were a lot of hyperbolic claims about the capabilities of that aircraft.
There were indeed.
I remember one of them, which even at the time I thought, I don't think that's true, was they said that if the cockpit glass hadn't been treated in such a way to reflect radar, that if the radar penetrated the cockpit, the pilot's helmet would give off a bigger signature than the entire aircraft. And I thought,
Yeah, right. A fiberglass helmet? No. Their head, yeah, for our radar, their head would have been more likely to give off a better return.
Yeah.
Seeing as how actually 3 gig is actually quite good at getting returns off water.
Nice.
That was one of the slightly difficult-ishy bits for the radar was that 3 gigahertz is also used for weather radar for a reason.
Okay. And say I don't know much about radar, so I'll definitely defer to your expertise.
Yeah, it's we could be quite good at picking up the clouds or the water, water droplets.
Yeah, we've got Hannah Anderson appeared in the YouTube chat. Come on, join us, Hannah.
Yeah, come and make us not the old men's club.
Not the old men's club.
I'm 43, you know.
Oh God.
Oh,
I got kids that are almost your age.
I was going to say that does make you the young man of us.
Well,
jeez. I got kids that are like right at 40, and I started having kids late in my life, so that should tell you something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, mine are stretched between 30 and mine are stretched between 30 and 22.
Yep. Well, my oldest grandson is 19, and my youngest daughter is 28. So 9 years of difference between the two of them.
Yeah, my two boys are quite close together, 18 months apart. But then we waited a bit before we had my daughter.
Mine were surprises.
Yeah, well, yeah, my daughter wasn't something we were trying for, but she wasn't something we weren't trying for either.
Yeah. Well, I've never been married, so that's something that it was a surprise. Each and every time, it's like, uh-oh, okay, well, time to get busy. And I wound up a single father with 3 daughters. So FWIW for what it's worth. Oh. I'd be interested in hearing more about radar, its capabilities, how, for those in the audience that might not understand some of the details of how it works. I know I don't. I'd certainly like to hear more about it.
Well, the basic principles are really very simple.
Yes.
You have a radio transmitter, and you transmit a short pulse of radio energy, usually at fairly high power levels or very high power levels, and you have a nice directional aerial that will make it go out in a nice tight beam. So very often a big oval reflector, just like in the photograph that is my icon on the screen at the moment. And that pushes out a beam that's about 0.5 degree wide and 12 degrees tall. And the radio waves go out. And if they hit anything on the way, some of those radio waves get reflected back.
Okay, and is there anything that simply does not reflect? Like wood or stone or
there are things that reflect there are some things reflect better than others. So obviously metal reflects really well. Water droplets, depending on their size, can reflect really well. Natural materials like wood don't reflect so well because it's just more likely to absorb the energy than to re-reflect it. But of course,
so would a different frequency show up these other materials in a better?
Yes, some do. I mean, you can use higher frequencies. The problem is that the amount of energy that's going to be reflected for these other materials is always going to be very low. I mean, that's one of the things they try with stealth is to have materials that reflect the minimum amount, and and that doesn't really. But also, of course, you try and have surfaces that are going to reflect in a direction that isn't back along the line that the radio waves arrived from.
Okay.
Because it's just like lighting something up with a big searchlight, with a big spotlight torch that's got a nice tight focused beam. Yeah, it's literally just like that.
Gotcha.
Except we're using microwave, because obviously, visible light is basically the same stuff that all other radio waves are. And I really don't want to get into the photon duality thing. But they are it is photons, but it's just
very high frequency, high energy.
Well, no, compared with light photons, very low wavelength stroke frequency, very long wavelengths, low frequency, low energy.
Oh, I thought they were higher. Photons. Okay.
No, the photons themselves are lower energy because they are longer wavelength. Because basically, the shorter the wavelength, the higher the energy higher the energy of the photon. Now I need to go find.
Which is why, like, ultraviolet light can be used to sterilize medical equipment, that sort of thing.
Yes, because let me just find. I'll just need to.
That was a good song.
Right. Okay. Here we go. And let's share that in here. So what we have here is the frequency, wavelength, and the energy of the photons.
Okay. Oh, cool.
So we have ELF, which is like 3 to 30 hertz, which is 100 megameters to 10 megameters wavelength. And those photons have an energy of 12.4 to 124 femtoelectron volts. And hang on, femto is milli is 10 to the minus 3, micro is 10 to the minus 6, 10 to the minus 9, 10 to the minus 12.
18.
I was going to hit 15, but 6.
Oh yeah, 15. I'm 12, sorry. You're right. 15. You're right.
Yeah, 10 to the minus 15 electron volts.
I think it's an
electron volt is basically the unit of energy that you get from literally from an electron. And then as it goes,
I think it's ATO that's minus 18.
Yes. Yeah, and you go up through the super low frequencies, very low frequencies, HF, VHF, UHF, which is the regions where you have TV, which is 300 megahertz, which is a 1 meter wavelength. And we've got up to 1.2 micro electron volts.
Yay!
Yay! And then we get, and only just above that at 3 gigahertz, which is 10 centimeters wavelength, which is the wavelength radar that I worked at, and you're to 12.4 micro electron volts per photon.
Okay.
Now, if we get up in the near infrared at 300 terahertz, that's 1 micrometer. You actually get to 1.24 electron volts per photon. They're starting to get a little bit of energy now. Then then you go through the visible spectrum, and you hit the near UV at 12 electron volts, and then which is sort of 100 nanometers. So that's past. You've got red light is usually around sort of 600 to 700 nanometers.
Yeah. Yep.
And and then you hit the you're into the I think blue is kind of about 200 nanometers.
No, it's in the high 300s if I recall correctly.
Okay.
I may be wrong, but that's what's kind of tickling my brain.
Yeah, I mean, but those sorts of areas, you get into the 1 nanometer.
And the petahertz.
Yeah, petahertz, and George is coming in really muffled at the moment.
Indeed.
Muffled. I wasn't speaking.
Sorry, George. I thought I could hear you being muffled. My apologies.
Yeah, someone was.
Mic check.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, I'll go on
Gotcha.
silent. I'm just checking. Yeah, just driving back from work. I'm in the car, so I've had a long day. So I thought I'd just join in and listen in. So I'll go on silent.
Yeah, that's
cool.
fine.
George, yeah, not seen George for a while. Hi, George. Nice to see you, as ever, friend.
Now, who am I speaking with?
Toady.
Oh, Toady. Hey.
Yeah,
All us
it's
Brits
just
all sound exactly the same to you, George. Does every Brit sound the same?
Well, that's the trouble with you continentals. You know, you're all alike.
Exactly.
yeah. Of course, it doesn't help that you're coming in on your phone with a weird name.
Oh, what's the name
True.
showing up as?
Because it's showing up
iPhone
the
8
name of your
Hawks.
phone.
Oh my God.
I don't know why it is. Every time I hear your name spoken, Toady, I always think of this toad on the beach that Con chases.
Would you?
So Hawks is interesting.
Got to be
I'll
careful
quickly tell
too.
you.
If we hang around you too long, we're going to get warts.
Well, exactly. You're going to get into trouble, aren't you? So Hawks used to be my handle back in the day when I used to play video games and things. Yeah. So I haven't used that for a long time. My God, I don't know how that's appeared on this. Weird. Right. Anyway,
Well,
all
that's.
good.
Do you want
myself, so that's all right.
Do you want it changed to Toady? Because nobody
Yeah,
can
that
actually.
might at least. That, exactly. If you could do that, I can't do it. I'm driving, obviously. But if you could do
Yeah,
that,
no,
then at
that's
least people
why
know
I.
who's here. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I say it's not a dox, but people may get confused.
And quick shout out to Matrix Media. I don't agree with you on a lot of the things that you say, but hello, glad to have you here.
Yeah, and then back to the conversation we were having. As you hit up as you hit up into the X-rays, and the petahertz and the etahertz, you start getting into the
exahertz.
Kilo electron volts and even mega electron volts for gamma, and that's where it's starting to do serious damage to an atom, because it's got plenty enough energy to ionize it.
Start blasting shit apart.
Exactly.
Oh. Okay. So what's this exercise in frequency and energy?
Just talking about radar. I'm interested. I mean, if someone has a life specialty, I'm certainly interested in hearing more about it. Because if someone's dedicated a lot of time studying something, and that tells me they can teach me a lot.
What? I'm not quite. I just jumped in.
Yeah, no worries, George. I say Shields was just asking me about radar because obviously, given my background in it.
Sure.
Because we were talking, the conversation had got around to testing secret aircraft at places like Groom Lake, and the fact that letting people think they might be alien spaceships and stuff.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah, that's happened in the U.S. a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's great when the silly people will create your own cover story for you, isn't it?
Oh, most likely. I mean, you don't have to put any effort forth. Yeah, that's happened so much over the decades here in the U.S. Around Nevada, with Ellis Air Force Base and Edwards Air Force Base in California.
Yeah,
it's always amazing that many of these UFO sightings seem to be concentrated in areas around Air Force bases.
Yeah, Air Force bases where they test new stuff.
it's almost as if people are seeing something that's being tested, isn't it? It's strange.
Very.
Very, very odd.
You're roboting like mad, Toby.
Can you hear me, actually? So I was somewhere interesting today, because I've got an interesting story to relate, but I'll shut up until you can hear me.
We are. You roboted like mad, and then you went loud and quiet and quiet and loud.
It's not very, very good at the moment. All right, I'll keep on silent until you guys can hear me.
Oh, you're better now.
You're coming through fine now.
It was just you went through a really bad patch.
All right, mate. As I say, I'm driving, so it could just suddenly drop out. But I was can't mention the company, but I was at an interesting place today.
Yeah. You're definitely driving.
They do some various work with various agencies, including one. Is it
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to shut up until I stop.
Yeah, sorry, Tony.
Yeah, you know, this whole thing about contact with aliens from another world or whatever has always amused me. I mean, we all go through that at times. You know, when I was in high school and early college, I was always fascinated and read every book I could about UFOs, you know, Chariots of the Gods.
Oh, gosh.
All this stuff. But the thing is, you know, you really need to be careful what you wish for, because we always like to assume that alien race might be benevolent and like us, but who's to say that their attitudes towards us would be like coming upon an anthill and stomping on it to see the ants scurry away?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or seeing
and
us
short of
even
that
as
is, one way
food source.
Doesn't matter much. If they want to stamp on us, they will. And if they're benevolent, great.
Yeah. Because let's face
I'm
it,
reminded of go ahead.
I was going to say, let's face it, if they can get it here to us, we would have absolutely no chance of stopping them if they wanted to be unpleasant to us. Because they would, because their technology would be akin to magic.
Yeah. So I mean, who's to say that you know, they'd be benevolent? No guarantee on that one.
No, and you know, I saw a movie. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but it was actually done by a film company in South Africa, and a ship had appeared in the sky, and these aliens were asking for God, what's the word?
Asylum.
Sanctuary. Yes, asylum.
Yeah.
And you know, the ship was beat up really bad, and they were able to get off the ship and down onto Earth, but the ship just stayed there hovering and couldn't go anywhere. So the government, South African, of course, since it was a South African film company, the South African government basically made this big ghetto for these aliens to live in, and they were treated horribly. And it was, I think it was a statement about the whole apartheid situation that was going on years ago.
Had gone on.
And it was an interesting look at
Sector 9, I
interspecies
think
relations. Yes, that's it. Yes, that was it.
What was it called?
Sector 9,
I believe.
Oh, okay.
Or Sector 19. One of the two, but it's Sector something. But yes, it's actually a good movie. I enjoyed it.
Doraniku says District 9 even. I think that might be District 9.
No, it's All right, I'm gonna go to Netflix and Prime and look those up real quick.
Non sequitur 9.
Yeah.
No, it's District 9. If you can hear me, it's definitely District 9. Yeah, it's a really good film. It's an excellent film. Really, really good film.
Well, there's the other issue too. You know, there's the other issue too. You know, an alien visitor could be bringing, you know, some pathogens or whatever to the planet, just like Cortez brought to the Incas and Spaniards brought to the Indians. You know, there might be something that we just can't deal with.
So that is Stephen Hawking's whole thing, didn't he? He said that anytime you get a more advanced civilization meeting a less advanced one, it never turns out well for the less advanced one. You know, even if they are theoretically benevolent, right, they end up doing damage that they never intended to that society.
Yeah. That aside, you know, it's just basically logistically impossible unless there's some alien race around the Alpha Centauri binary system. The likelihood of having any contact with another race is so remote and so logistically impossible.
Yeah, the name of the movie is indeed District 9.
Yeah,
and it is on Amazon.
Yeah,
is it on? I think it's on Netflix too.
Is it Bloomfield? Is it that guy?
Blomkamp.
Blomkamp. That's it. He's a really good filmmaker.
Producer was Peter Jackson.
That's right. It was a really quite small budget as well. Very successful movie. Great, really good movie. I really enjoyed it.
I really overlooked the and I'm going to use the term in quotes, the lesser grade special effects. I really overlooked those because the story was pretty compelling as well.
So powerful, wasn't it? They were almost like cockroaches, weren't they, or something? The aliens, I remember.
Yes.
They were kind of, and they were like used as workmen, weren't they? And things, you know, they were used as like sort of work.
Yeah, right, but it was an interesting statement. It was an interesting statement about relationships between two varied groups.
Yeah,
and I found that compelling.
Apparently, the title and premise were inspired by events that took place in District 6 of Cape Town during the apartheid era.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you were pretty dang good in stating that in the first place.
Yeah, it's if we do encounter an alien species, chances are they're going to be far beyond us technologically, and we would live or die at their whims.
Yeah.
There was also a episode of Babylon 5 where this probe suddenly flew in and parked next to the space station and started transmitting to the space station a series of problems, some of them mathematical, some of them physics, and it said, and this message said, basically, if you solve these, you will demonstrate to us that you're a high enough technology level that we can share with you all these great, wonderful, technologies and secrets that we have. So we'll give you like 72 hours to transmit the solutions back to us. And if you do, we'll give you this knowledge. Turned out it wasn't going to transmit anything except an explosion. It was sent to find people that were possibly a threat. And if they showed that they had the technology to be a potential threat, that thing would blow up and help wipe them out. Again, another interesting twist on First Contact.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the way as you say, humans who are more technologically advanced than humans that are already somewhere tend to be the ones that thrive and prosper.
Right, right.
Well, you would hope that any civilization would have gone through a similar evolution as us and might understand at what point in the evolution we're at, and that we are, such a warring, aggressive stage in our development that they would understand, but there's no guarantee.
Honestly, I think warring and conflict is just such a part of being human, because that's what we've done from the beginning. War is an integral part of the human experience.
Yeah, territory, wanting.
Yep.
Wanting territory.
Basically, I think it would get down to a question of, are these humans that we discovered on this little marble called Earth, are they able to be brought into our world, speaking as the aliens, brought into our world peaceably and, possibly make a contribution? If not, wipe them out. If so, let's go ahead and bring them in.
Or you just isolate them, or keep them from advancing technologically to where they can't really hop very far off their little world, to contaminate other worlds. Kind of keep us in a cage.
That's them fooling us.
Yep. But I would like to think that if we have been visited, which I don't necessarily believe so, but if we have been visited by aliens in the past, then they've looked at us and gone, interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on them, and then flew off.
Yeah. Kind of like probably the best science fiction movie ever made, in my opinion, is the Day the Earth Stood Still. There was a lot of moral lessons in that one. And
Klaatu Barada Nikto.
Yeah. Speech at the end was very compelling.
One thing I really enjoyed about Babylon 5, and this is, I'm not stating it exactly true, but on Starship Enterprise versus Babylon 5, on Babylon 5, at least they had toilets,
Well, Star Trek crew could really hold it.
Yeah, or it was just beamed out of them and into space.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, you got to see the grittier side of humanity and other species in Babylon 5, and that was something I really kind of appreciated. That not everyone was kind and benevolent and looking out for the prime directive, so to speak.
Yeah. And I guess my second favorite movie, as far as, well, it's not really wasn't a movie, but for Alien Contact, was the Twilight episode. Geez, what the heck was that one called? To Serve Man, where the aliens landed, and they had this book that they went by, and two scientists were trying to translate the language, and all the time the aliens were telling the Earthlings, how wonderful the world is, and that they're going to shuttle any Earthlings that want to their world to visit, and that, and there's this waiting list starting up, and they're loading people on the ship, and the one scientist, the female scientist, is running at the very end as her colleague is boarding the spaceship, and she's yelling, "To serve man, it's a cookbook."
Sounds like The Simpsons.
Yeah. So gotta
Yeah, gotta be careful where those commas are located.
Yeah.
And Chris in YouTube chat brought up something that I found terribly salient, was Mostly Harmless. I'm currently watching the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, the one from the 80s from the Beeb. I'm into episode 2 right now. It's quite fun.
But you did miss his caveat, but stupid.
Yeah. I don't think that was in the original series, though.
It wasn't.
Yeah, Mostly Harmless. And that was expanded from the original, which was just harmless.
The book was mostly harmless as well.
Yep.
And the radio
threw it at somebody really hard.
And it was mostly harmless in the book, and it was also mostly harmless on the original radio series, as well as the.
I never did catch the radio series, but.
Yeah, I didn't, but
I'm glad to be able to.
I knew somebody who had a copy of it who had a copy of the whole lot on tape, so they allowed me to copy the tapes, so I did get to hear them all.
Nice. Yeah, the movie that was made not long ago about Hitchhiker's Guide, I was able to watch part of it, but no. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
I haven't even tried watching it.
I think it was I think 6 parts from the original television series. The one from back in the 80s.
Yeah, I think something like that.
To me, as far as what's widely available, I think that's the most definitive adaptation of the books.
Yeah, because I think Douglas Adams did the adaptation himself.
Oh, okay, cool.
Or was
he
it
actually worked with the Monty Python crew?
Or was at least involved with the adaptation. You know what? You know what his real life
Douglas
job was.
Adams actually worked with the Monty Python crew a bit. He was a street sweeper, if I recall correctly. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
He was a computer programmer.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Have fun, Chris. But yeah, Douglas Adams was he worked a bit with the Monty Python crew. He did some other writing for television shows. Yeah, he turned out some great stuff, and he was definitely sorely missed.
Yes, one of our better comedic writers.
Agreed, but yeah, I definitely appreciated his style of bringing points across. He had a great way of describing things in both descriptive and non-descriptive ways.
I like his definition of learning to fly. Throwing yourself on the
ground and
miss.
Get distracted. Yep.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's throw yourself at the ground.
Zombie
and
Wolf has you got to get distracted. Now, Zombie Wolf actually says great sci-fi movie from when I was young, New York City in the year 2022, not so far off from now, and then has a link but no title. I'm wondering if maybe that's Escape from New York.
It's either Escape from New York or possibly it's Blade Runner. I tell you what.
Blade Runner was further in the future.
No, I think Blade Runner's kind of like now.
Yeah.
Oh. No, we were both wrong. Soylent Green.
Ah, I actually, oh my God. Okay. All right. Hang on. I got to present something here.
Soylent Green is people.
Yeah, I just got done having a bit of a snack, and here we go. That's what I just had for my meal. Nice big bottle of Soylent. Yep. And I mean, I just literally just minutes ago threw the bottle in the trash. So yeah, Soylent is good. I had the chocolate Soylent.
Rather than the green stuff.
Yep. And by the way, just as a tangent to this, if anybody's looking for like meal replacement drinks or whatever, Soylent line of products are very good. I'm rather pleased with them. So check them out. They're available on Amazon. So there's my shill.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not connected with them.
I was going to say, and there are no paid for product placements in this video.
Nope.
Because I don't know what. Because we can get in quite a lot of trouble in this country if we stream to YouTube and have place product promotions and don't claim them and don't.
Paid endorsements.
Paid endorsements. If you're UK based, the Advertising Standards Authority can absolutely nail you with very big fines for paid product placement that isn't declared as such.
Well, then for clarity's sake, I am not affiliated with the Soylent Company. I'm just a customer that's pleased with the product, and I definitely have already recommended it to some of my friends, and I enjoy it. I'm a big dude, need to lose some weight, so this is one of the products I'm using. So there you are.
Yeah, I think we're clear on that one.
Okay, not affiliated. Not paid. All right, there. So now you're in the clear.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the clear.
But
I think I was going to be in the clear all the way through anyway. But
yep. But let's get this back to aliens and other things. That's the topic at hand. I would love to see contact with another alien race. That's something that I would look forward to.
Till they eat you.
Well, unless they've got a cookbook.
Well, if that's the case, then that's the case. But it would be satisfying in knowing that my beliefs were right. That there are other species out there.
There's a flat earther who literally makes money off of gravity.
I couldn't understand what you just said.
Yes.
Your mic was really low.
I think Khan's agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I think Zombie Wolf just joined us.
As long as Khan is not disagreeing with us.
Yeah.
All right, it's Kang in Simpsons, isn't it?
It's what?
The commander of the in the Treehouse of Horror series of Halloween specials, the captain of the alien spaceship is Kang.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in oh god, I can't think of the name. Why is it slipping my mind? Bender, the professor. Philip J.
Futurama.
Futurama.
Yes, Futurama. I could not think of the name. In Futurama, the aliens come from Omicron Persei 8. Yep, and Contact. Actually, Contact was written by Carl Sagan, if I recall correctly. True Blue brought up in YouTube chat. Contact was a movie with a new twist on how aliens might contact us.
Good old project.
Subcarrier under subcarrier up to subcarrier.
Well, again, unless there's some trick of physics we don't know about, the chances of it, any contact is highly improbable. I mean, the logistics is just impossible to overcome.
Well, there was a radio signal that was intercepted, and I think it's called the WOW signal, if I remember right. Is anyone familiar with that?
The Coke commercial from Elvis Centauri.
Yeah, it's called the WOW signal, and I'll present.
I see, George. I see Heat Shield's new puppy was all ears when Khan started talking to us.
Yeah, Khan doesn't speak very often, but when he does decide to, he's rather vocal. He very seldom ever barks. It's just that he's particularly anxious to go out running. I haven't taken him out running yet today. I've been kind of lazy, lethargic.
Do you take him out so that he can run, or do you go running with him?
I generally go I ride a bicycle while he runs alongside it. He loves it that way. But then once a day, I take him out with the car so he can really open up, because I can never pedal fast enough for him. He's always grabbing my pedal and trying to pull me along. I do about 20, 25 with my bicycle, but sometimes he really likes to open up and really sprint at about 30 miles an hour, and I have to do that with the car.
Somebody I know from whose company supports our veterans group in Norwich. She does a thing called Canine Cross, where you put your dog in a harness and then tie the harness around your waist, and then you both do a super duper cross country run.
Okay, here's the WOW signal, and I don't recall any of the specifics about it other than they did not expect to get what they got. And I can't interpret this to tell anything about it. But this is, as I understand it, it's not something that they believe could be produced by anything natural necessarily. So thus somebody scribbled WOW next to it and became known as the WOW signal.
Well, again, there's always probabilities, is, the thing of setting a monkey down to a typewriter and having them eventually type out all the works of Shakespeare. I mean, it's possible, but highly unlikely.
Well, there's the Library of Babel, which I don't know if you were there when I presented it once, but it contains everything that ever has been written, is written, or will be written. It's already in this library.
Right. Yeah.
And it's basically the books are generated by random characters. And you can search the Library of Babel and find all of these books, and they have distinct addresses and distinct page numbers. You can find anything in them. I was thinking about copying
books, though, right? There's just phrases from those books.
Well, for example, I can't present a website, so someone else would need to do it. But I've got it. Let's see here. I'll copy, and I'll post it in side chat. But it's a very stripped down, no nonsense website, so there's not a lot of graphics or anything. Here we go. And I posted that in side chat. It's libraryofbabel.info for anyone in the YouTube audience. But you can find books and such that have not even been written yet, and they're there because every combination of characters is in the Library of Babel. I was thinking about grabbing like a paragraph from Hamlet and using that as my search term, and see if I can get more.
Well, probably is the search with any supercomputer would probably take longer than the existence of the universe.
Quite possible. But if somebody has a computer and wants to present that Library of Babel, it's pretty interesting. And it's kind of a mind blower in its own way. Because you can type anything in, like Donald Trump smokes weed, and it'll find the book, the shelf, the room, the whole 9 yards, and tell you exactly where to find it. And you can go back later and type in the room, the book, or the.
Oh, there you go. Just type in first alien contact and go find the book that details, or the newspaper article that details it for you.
It would be there. You'd have to find it though. So, yeah. But it's quite an entertaining site. I've spent more than a few hours there just poking around, looking at things and trying to stump the chump. But every time it's found a book with what I was searching for.
You don't have any influence over children.
Is who what?
Right.
We didn't
I
catch what
just
you
tried
said.
that, and yeah, it seems like it's actually managed to find a section where there is first alien contact as a string.
You want to show it? Can you show it on your screen?
Yeah, hang on just a second.
Because I'm on my phone and it wouldn't allow that. Unless maybe I just shared my screen and then went to the website.
Yeah, it's sharing now. So, yeah, it's not exactly readable though, is it? And
no, it's just finding those phrases. But if you type in a very long section of text or paste in a long section of text, it'll find that. And the thing is, there are variants of everything you're looking for. So you might find a variant where Hamlet isn't Hamlet, it's Hamlet, and it reads the exact same all the way through, except Hamlet is Hamlet. I have also developed a way of storing data in a fashion that the data, you stop searching for the data after it's hard to explain. When you're searching for the data, you're not actually searching for the data, you're searching for the marker that says, hey, you've already found the data. And then you look into the memory of the computer, and bam, there it is. But you don't actually find the data. What you're doing is you're finding the marker that says, hey, you've already got the data in memory, and it's there. So and in theory this works wonderfully, but you would need ways of measuring things that are just absolutely unheard of.
Oh bugger.
Oh bugger.
Oh bugger. Maybe I should. Maybe as well as selecting the text, I should have done Control C so that I could paste the text. So that's some text that I just pulled off my Discord server. Does that match? Okay.
So what do you think?
It managed to find a decently length bit of text.
Yep.
As an exact
And
match.
it was and it was already in the library before someone wrote that on your Discord. That's the creepy thing.
Yeah.
It was already there.
Oh, and just so that we are sure, the person who wrote that on my Discord would have been me.
There you go. Another disclaimer.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty random piece of text.
Yep. And it was already in the library before you wrote it.
But
how's that for a mind blower?
The problem is that you had to know the text already to find it in the library.
Yes.
I'm not sure how useful pages and pages and pages of random letters are likely to be.
Well, it's as much an art piece as it is a piece for study, which I still think it's fantastic. I think it's a wonderful thing to have this library of Babel that we can say, hey, it contains everything, and then have it contain everything. It's pretty slick. So now all you need to do is you need to jot down the address of that that phrase, and bing, bang, boom, there you are. Oh, we got music. You know, I was just thinking that would make an interesting substitution cipher. You know, you write out the message, and then you just copy down the address and then send it to someone. Most people would never know what that address was.
True.
So if you needed some low-grade security just to pass a fast message, use the Library of Babel.
Yeah, I suppose that would make a half decent book code.
Yeah. You know, there'd be no none of this, you know, switching one letter for another letter. You know, those could be sussed out pretty easily. You know, relatively speaking. But something like that has no God, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't compare well with the text that's being sent. There's no you know, correlation in the number of characters being sent. There's no real connection to it other than the fact that it's in the library, in that room, on that shelf, in that book, on that page.
Yeah, I mean, if you know.
I mean, if somebody knows of the Library of Babel, bam, security is gone.
Yeah.
But most people would never make that connection because A, they don't know about it, and B, they could be looking at it and not realize that's what it is.
Yes. You would have to recognize that.
But see, you could theoretically write, you know, a 3-page letter,
yes,
and then drop it in, and you know, it encrypts it down to a book, or excuse me, a room, a shelf, a book, and a paragraph, and those are fixed length, and that's all you need to send is just that information.
Hey, guys, I'm going to post to the YouTube chat here. It's a link to a video on 3D Mandelbrot fractal set. This is probably one of the best videos I've ever seen on this. This is
Okay, so this is 4K, 60 FPS, and runs for 2 hours.
Damn. Yeah, I'm giving it a peek right now. Yep.
Yeah, this is the ultimate long-term screensaver.
It sure beats looking for the teapot with a pipe screensaver.
Yeah, Mandelbrot sets and fractals are a wee bit mind-blowing, aren't they? I'm gonna have to stop watching that because
I
if I
find the whole thing mesmerizing.
if I carry on watching that, I'm going to get mildly motion sick.
I find the thing mesmerizing. Just
as do I.
Oh yeah.
there's your mathematical equivalent of the Babel library. Somewhere in there is pi.
Yeah, but George, somewhere in everything is pi.
Well, that's true.
I keep forgetting the guys. Matt Parker. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his.
Yeah, actually, I know him. He and I spent 2 weeks together in South China Sea once. He and his wife Lucy.
Yeah. He seems to be able to find. He seems to be able to find you pi in pretty much everything, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. He started off as an entertainer for school children. He used magic along with mathematical concepts, and he started out calling himself the stand-up mathematician. And he's been associated with Numberphile and doing these videos.
Yeah, he does himself and a couple of other people do a stand-up comedy tour now, don't they? All based on math.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, his good friend, excuse me, his good friend is John Brown, who is the astronomer royal of Scotland, and I was together with them, like I said, for 2 weeks back about 10 years ago. We both went on this solar eclipse trip in the South China Sea, and they were a lot of fun.
Did you get to see the solar eclipse?
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. The captain of the ship kept a good eye on the weather report, and that morning it clouded over, but he managed to find a hole in the cloud, steered the ship into it, and we had 7 minutes of totality. It was incredible.
Oh, you lucky son.
Nice.
We had a total solar eclipse visible here in the UK in August '99, and I travelled almost down to the very western tip of England from the eastern tip to watch it, and unfortunately it clouded over about half an hour before the eclipse started, and cleared up about half an hour.
Yeah, that was probably the one. Yeah, that one was probably the one I saw. I went to Aruba to see that one, and that was also a great eclipse. That was over 6 minutes in Aruba.
Yeah,
nice.
we managed. I was almost exactly on the centre line of totality, so it was dark for a decent good length of time. It was just we couldn't actually see it because the cloud was too thick. Although the spot where we were on the beach at Falmouth, there was one of these giant TV screens on the headland across the bay, and we were able to watch the BBC TV coverage. So at least we saw it on TV.
Good.
Well, one of the nights when we were off Iwo Jima, out in the middle of nowhere, one night the captain turned off all the lights of the ship and just let us drift in the ocean for a couple hours. And I thought I had good viewing of the stars up here, you know, with a minimum amount of light pollution. It was nothing compared to what it was like being out in the middle of the ocean with nothing around. I mean, it was utterly mind-blowing what you could see. I mean, you couldn't even make out the constellations because there was so many background stars. It's amazing that how much filtering you get even around land when you know, the filtering that you get through the atmosphere that allows the brighter stars to stand out in the constellations, but you could hardly make out like the Big Dipper or any of the other constellations with so much background light from all the other minor stars. It just was mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think maybe a nice trip like that would be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, but the thing that impressed me the most was just how much brightness there was from the collection of background stars that tends to wash out the brighter stars, like on the Big Dipper and the major constellations, when you have that kind of unobstructed view. I mean, I just never realized how much a little bit of attenuation in the atmosphere can allow the brighter stars to be more prominent in the sky. And when you don't have that, there's just such a huge background wash of stars that it masks out the brighter stars. And it was really hard to pick out various constellations like Cassiopeia and Orion, or not Orion, but the Big Dipper, Little Dipper, and all them.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting. I mean, I've always had a mild interest in all the sciences. Yeah, and I will take opportunities to things, but I have to say, it's only since I've been getting involved in the anti-flat Earth thing that I've actually started really going out and properly looking at stuff. So, like, yeah, I recently went out and shot several star time lapses of you know, just for the heck of it, just because people talk about stuff, and it was like, well, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm actually going to record it then, make an effort and record it. So I have actually got something useful out of getting involved in this.
Well, crickets.
Crickets, yeah, sorry, I was just looking for something.
Yeah, Alan, if you ever get an opportunity to do some sort of a cruise that's geared towards astronomy, whatever, I would take it, you know, especially if they have it scheduled where, you know, the ship's captain might turn off all the lights late at night to allow you to do viewing. I mean, out in the middle of the ocean, it's just mind blowing.
There we go. That was one of my efforts at a time lapse of the night sky. That was running at 300 times actual speed.
Mm-hmm. What did you say that again was? You used like an F, 1.8 or something, ISO 2400 or something?
I was using f2.8 at ISO 3200.
Okay. All right.
And I shot them with my Canon EOS 50D. And I shot them all in RAW as well, so that I could get the so that I actually had the sensor data there to get the images optimally cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure who's sleeping. I think Davros. I think it's Shields. Unless because I don't think it's Quasar.
What's me?
The person's the person potentially snoring.
Nope.
Of course not.
No, when it's me, I'll admit it. I've done it in the past, and I've admitted it. So.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I've had to mute you in the past.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you have. I get loud.
How many chords can you do in a sitting?
How many what?
How many cords of wood can you saw in one sitting?
Yeah. No, I don't go by the chord. I go by the forest whenever I'm at it. No, I'll just be listening, kind of zoned out, and I've got issues with my breathing, so I start breathing loud. So yeah, I've got breathing issues, yet I still smoke. Figure that out.
Well, anyway, gentlemen, I'm gonna bugger out of here. I owe Con a little bit of exercise, so it's a beautiful afternoon. Need to take advantage of it.
What you mean? It's,
and if
you mean it's the middle of the day, but it's pitch black here.
Yeah, it's 3:14 in the middle of the afternoon here.
Yep, it's 3:14 in Minneapolis.
Yeah, and it's the middle of the night here, and I'm guessing for Demonic Davros, who's just arrived, it's early in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 6:45 on Friday morning.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah, Heatfield and I aren't that far apart. We're about 300 miles apart. He's on the southern part of the state, and I'm on the northern border of the state.
What, are you up Duluth in that area?
I'm in International Falls.
Oh man, you're way up there. You're damn near surrounded by Canada.
Yep, I see the Canadian shore from kind of like Sarah Palin. You know, I'm good for Secretary of State. I can see a foreign country from my kitchen window.
Yeah. Gives you a lot of experience. Well, let's liven this shit up. Let's get some people from YouTube in here.
Yeah, like who?
Hang on, let me kill the mic while I'm chewing.
Who's going to be constructive if they come in?
I don't know. I think tonight's been a bit of a struggle because Jose ran very late, didn't he? And I think the UFOs and aliens subject matter put off a lot of his audience, so he didn't have a huge number.
Oh, because they weren't talking about the subject they wanted.
Yep.
Oh, they didn't get to hear the shit show that is the flat Earth.
They didn't get to hear the shit show that is the flat Earth.
Oh, sorry. I mean, the discernment of particular photos and what type of atmospheric condition is causing blockage, which has nothing to do with the flat Earth. It's just semantical. Oh, I can't see it because it's blocked.
That would be the one.
Aha. I blame Shills.
Okay, I'm done chewing now, so.
Oh, now he can defend himself.
Nah, I really don't give a shit.
Well, it's your fault. Aliens reasons.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
Are you? Really?
Yeah.
So you have the inside scoop on the aliens?
Sure, why not? I'm old enough that I really ain't got anything to prove to anybody, so yeah.
Question for Charlie: are you happy with me sharing this image that I'm guessing is yours on the stream?
Ooh, pictures. Do we have pictures?
Yeah, it's a 3D. It's a 3D from. Sorry, it's a 360 from La Capanas Observatory in Chile.
Oh yeah.
I'm currently sharing the dimensions for a universal handcuff key. It works in handcuffs from most countries around the world.
Both countries around the world.
I said most countries around the world.
Most countries.
It sounded like he said both countries around the world.
I'm
so
sure
there's
he
America
said
and everybody else.
Yeah. America. Beer and titties and fireworks. Yay.
And eagles.
Yeah. Eagles. But anyway, yeah, I'm sharing the dimensions for a universal handcuff key. Even works on Korean handcuff keys and ones from Russia and America and all over.
Oh, so it works backwards too.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's the Korean handcuff keys that are backwards that turn the other direction.
Yeah.
But if anybody wants to copy those down and make themselves a universal handcuff key, there it is.
I haven't.
And
I'm gonna hope that Charlie won't mind me sharing that image.
Oh, please do.
Well, no, it's his image, but I just hope he doesn't mind me sharing it. because
look.
I think it is absolutely amazing.
Oh, definitely.
You know, hang on. At the start of that, did you see that smudge up in the right-hand corner? At the start of that?
No, not that I recall.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh,
There.
that smudge there.
Yeah.
And there's another one there's another one here, isn't there?
Yeah. I have a feeling that large one is actually the Andromeda Galaxy.
One's going to smack into us.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Just go by going by
No,
what stars you notice.
the Andromeda Galaxy would never be that large of angular dimension.
Okay.
Andromeda Galaxy looks more like a large star in size, in angular size.
Oh, okay. What's that then? Nebula then?
No, not even nebulas would be that large.
Then what the hell is it? I don't know about these things. Teach me.
Because it's not a cloud. It's got to be something. That's actually out in space.
Well, I don't know.
That
That could be something in the atmosphere. I'm not convinced that that's way out in deep space. Charlie might know. Just ask Charlie.
Yeah, I'm hoping Charlie will be able to tell us. I know there's a fairly long delay.
Yeah, Charlie.
It would be even better if he could come on and speak to us, but
I think Charlie had his voice box.
That is absolutely amazing.
I got to remember the Andromeda Galaxy is about 2 million light years away. So even.
Okay.
Somebody in chat suggests they could be the Magellanic Clouds.
Yeah, they could be the LMCs. I'm actually currently trying to make the location. Just because you can see the arm of our galaxy in that photo.
I'm going to have to stop sharing, guys, because it's kind of killing the computer a bit.
Damn you and all your information.
Can't you not hear the fan going?
Yeah, I can. Okay, so those smudges are LMCs, because Andromeda is actually north of the arm of the galaxy, and if that was taken from Chile, those clouds are technically south. Just by what I can find. That's quasar.
Oh, it's quasar, is it?
That breathing? Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't see who was lighting up. Charlie, that was absolutely wonderful. I hope you don't mind me sharing it, but
it was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool CGI, that stuff. I'm very impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But yes, having heard what Alan said earlier about Jose's show, because of course I was sleeping because I'd been awake for 40 something hours.
Yeah.
I thought most of Jose's audience were skeptical people. So
no, pretty large chunk of them are flatties.
But flat earthers claim skepticism about our Earth. Therefore, you would be skeptical about aliens coming to Earth, wouldn't you? Because that would denote outer space. So therefore, you would have to deny aliens because there's no outer space.
And
that's the inconsistency that you have in the flat Earth world. I mean,
yeah.
Thank you, George. Yeah.
Actually, I stand corrected. On the Andromeda Galaxy, if it's the same diameter as the Milky Way galaxy of about 150,000 light years across, if we were to view it broad on and not on edge where we see the whole spiral arms, it would take up about 3.5 degrees in the sky in angular measure. So
it's okay, George. I actually had a look, but where those clouds are is actually in the wrong spot for where Andromeda should be.
But I'm just saying that the angular measure is much larger than I would have thought, because Andromeda Galaxy is about 2.5 million light years away, and if it's about 150,000 light years across, it would take up an angular measure of about 3.5 degrees.
About 7 times the sun.
Yeah.
I know
or
John
seven times the moon.
Been chatting with John Watson, and he has sort of said that I think it's nearly 5 degrees, the Andromeda Galaxy.
Oh well, it's big. We'll agree on that.
That was the thing, because we were talking, and he was saying that for things like the Andromeda Galaxy, you don't necessarily want a really high magnification telescope.
No.
Because these things are these things are big. So if you want to see all of it in one go,
yeah,
you need something with a 7 or 8 degree field.
I just looked it up. The Andromeda Galaxy is about the same size as the Milky Way. It's 110,000 light years across. So yeah, it's going to take up about 3.5 degrees in the night sky if you could view it, direct on.
Okay. Well, when it gets to about 170 degrees, then I'm going to start worrying.
Yeah. Yeah, kiss your ass goodbye.
Yeah, that's not for about 3.7 billion years.
That was my joke there. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but I believe there'll still be some unpaid shills around by then. Whether they're human, that's a different story.
Well, they'll always be human if they're descended from us. It's just, how different will they be? Because we're still eukaryotes, but we're very different from other eukaryotes.
Says you.
Says pine trees and elephants.
Hey, I like pine trees. They smell nice.
Yeah, elephants do too, if you like the smell of elephant.
Oh, I actually used that one with no, it wasn't Travis, was it? It was I've forgotten his name, but we were chatting earlier. No, when I was saying about the development of electronics, and evolution, and I actually used the because he was talking about they suddenly went from valves to microcircuits, and
no, not as quick as he thinks.
Yeah, and I also pointed out to him that valves and microcircuits might be similar, but really, evolutionary speaking, they're pine trees and elephants.
Yeah.
My father ran a radio repair shop that eventually became television repair, and I remember helping him in his shop when I was about 3 years old. He'd bring me in and tell me, okay, sort the tubes, by the numbers on here. And I was old enough to see numbers and understand and know that 1 came before 3 and all that stuff. So I would sort tubes and sort parts by color, stuff like that. But it took a long time for solid state to take hold. It wasn't until getting into the 60s that that solid state really started becoming a thing. And that's something not a lot of people realize. That tubes dominated. Even in televisions, tubes were there well into the 70s
and the 80s. They were still using valves in the 80s. Yeah.
And even the cathode ray tube, if you want to count that, those were going on much longer. But
I wouldn't quite count a cathode ray tube in quite the same way as I would count.
Nor would I. But the whole point being that tubes didn't just suddenly disappear and were replaced by solid state. It was a transformation that took decades.
Oh, almost like an evolution.
Something like that. Yeah. You'd think, huh?
You also had a lot of things, a lot of TVs and things with a mix of both solid state circuitry and valves.
Yes. And that was something we saw in his shop.
Oh, here's the other clincher. It's the fact we still use transistors. They're just really, really fucking small now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The ubiquitous 2N2222 is a tiny package. It's not like grain of wheat, but it's small.
Yeah, well, a CPU. The amount of transistors that are on that thing is phenomenal.
Oh yeah. But even my point though was that even the discrete parts, just the transistors and the MOSFETs and the JFETs, those are small as well, much smaller than they used to be.
Well, funnily enough, the radar had a modification that was done to it, and we actually had an added-in printed circuit board tagged in the video processing that had a valve on one side of the printed circuit board
and chip on the other.
A 74 series TTL logic chip on the other.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember. I can't remember which 74 series TTL logic chip, but it had a 74 series TTL chip on one side of the PCB and a valve on the other.
Yeah, 7400 is a NAND gate, if I recall correctly, and 7404 is the hex inverter.
So that valve would have just been switching between ones and zeros.
At very high power.
Yeah, but that's the logical application of the valve on the opposite side of the chip.
Yeah, you'd think.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm just thinking of logic, like computer logic.
I'm not sure if it wasn't even a cathode follower on there to buffer the signal into the TTL chip. Because the big problem was that our analog video signal was like 80 volts or so.
Okay.
No, 60. Okay. I tell a lie, 60 volts.
Okay.
So yeah, it was going to.
Running at what, about 30 hertz?
No, this would be just
Yeah,
literally.
we're pushing your memory, aren't we, Alan?
Yeah. Basically, what you had a video stream coming out of the system, which was 250. It was essentially 250 frames per second.
Wow.
And but a frame was one.
Excuse me.
But a frame was was one single scan line.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because we're scanning a plan position indicator output. Okay.
Yeah.
So you start the thing with the aerial pointing due north, with the scan line pointing at the 12 o'clock position, and the radar rotated clockwise at 4 RPM, and basically you used sawtooth deflection signals into the deflection coils to rotate the scan line to the correct bearing to match the aerial. And
I need
love
to
hearing all this stuff.
I'd like to respond to a comment in YouTube chat. It was, let me find it. Heat Shield asked, "Who was that channeling Aaron Ra just now?" That was me, Unpaid Shills. I am a fan of Aaron Ra's series on evolution.
Oh, his phylogenetics.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've watched all 48 episodes of that thing.
Yep. Very
Holy
good
shit.
series.
Holy shit.
When it comes to evolution, he really knows his stuff.
We are so people say that, our eyes aren't complex and all that, but the evolution from that single-celled microorganism all the way up to us and fucking trees and rocks, my God, how the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah,
if somebody hasn't seen,
of course, but remember though that you have to remember that it wasn't a directed evolution; it was just us being adapted for our little niches all along the way.
Yeah. Anyone that's not seen that Aaron Ross series on evolution, by all means go watch it. It is a real eye opener.
It's actually used in schools.
Yeah.
Yep. So I recommend it highly. His name is Aaron Ra, ARON, last name RA. So there's another show for his channel.
And he hates Kent Hovind.
Yeah, with a passion, absolute passion. 0645 2-017. Yep. Yep. But yeah, anyone that does have a chance to check out that series, please do. It's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Oh,
so do you want?
He's a great atheist component too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do you want to know how our video signal worked then? Or do we want to change the subject?
I'm game. Well, I'm game, sure.
Yeah, so basically we had 250 of these frames a second rotating around the screen as from the center, and where there was a return, depending on the return strength, you would get the video signal would increase in voltage, and that would be used to gate the brightness of the CRT.
Wow.
So the thing is that unlike with a TV screen, you don't need the mesh inside for for the pixels, for the spots, because you still need the mesh even for a black and white. It's more, I mean, because obviously it's not even monochrome. It's literally, well, the ones we used in the engineering section, I think all the ones they used in the ops room all were amber screens that lit up sort of yellow, sort of a bright yellowish.
Shadow mask. Shadow mask.
Yeah, was it Honeywell or Honeybee computers used to use that orange screen?
Honeywell.
That color? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of that.
Well,
color.
there were a lot of them. A lot of systems used amber screens, especially getting into the late '80s and early '90s. That was a thing. And even with like DOS systems, or command line systems, typically I changed my color to yellow on black because it's just easier to see.
Yeah, well, these were sort of just brightened up amber screens.
Yep.
He says,
Mr. Shields, isn't yellow on black? Isn't that like a heading in Pornhub?
Yes,
right?
yeah. I'm very familiar with their midget section.
You're in the midget section.
Yeah, he's got a thing for midgets. That's okay. He's allowed to.
That's a running joke between me and friends. Has been for decades. That and there was a buddy of ours. We used to hang out at this cafe and just blow off steam. Like I had a terrible day and blah blah blah. The others would listen. We'd all commiserate.
Actually, did steam reciprocate every time you blew it off?
Generally speaking, yes. Got a handy from them for a few times, but it was we called ourselves the coffee crew, and one of the members was a flaming homosexual. He did not care who knew. He was so far out of the closet. He was orbiting Mars. But one day it was just this quiet spot in conversation. Nobody was saying anything. We were all kind of staring in our cups of coffee. And all of a sudden he says, so there I was, nuts deep in this guy's ass. And he turns around and wants to cuddle. And I'm thinking, God, what a queer. and all of us, you could hear that creak sound as our necks turned to look at him like, what the hell did you just say? But that phrase has been part of our the coffee crew's culture for decades now, going on 30. And so now, if one of us needs a good laugh, one of them will say to the other, so there I was, nuts deep in this guy's ass, and everybody just kind of goes, okay. But yeah, it was one of those things.
Yeah, that's the color.
Yeah, I thought that would give. Although that console in the middle there, we would consider very badly set up, because you would not expect a bright yellow line like that going round. What you would have is that turned down so that it only brightened up when there was actually a target pip there to see.
Yeah.
But obviously,
same as submarines do with their sonar pinging. They remove the line so as they get better. What do they call it? Better distance transitions.
Yeah, but the line makes it so much more showy.
Oh yeah, the line makes it so much more showy. I think that's why it's got the line.
I know. Otherwise, it'd just be a screen.
I know if we'd have set them up like that back in the day, we would have got roasted. You
would have been a very bad penguin.
Yeah. Yes, we would have been we would have been a very bad penguin fairy. Sorry, fairy penguin.
Sorry, I just didn't want to insult any fairies out there.
Or penguins.
No, I don't care about penguins, just the fairies.
Oh, you bastard.
Well, you see, when you're nuts deep and you want to cuddle,
yeah.
Can't offend them.
Well, occasionally when a conversation is like just dead, occasionally I'll just spout that off just to get people talking again.
Yeah,
and it works beautifully.
But unpaid, you could spout off almost anything and people start laughing.
Well, it's just my nature, I love to shock and surprise people.
Yeah, people.
Yeah. But yeah, I love saying that when in company where you don't expect to hear that sort of thing. Like in the middle of battle. I'm thinking, God, what a queer.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, considering the things going round, and you get come here. You get 4 milliseconds if you're doing 250 frames a second. We would actually have the receivers open for 3 milliseconds and then have a 1 millisecond intertrace time, so that we could do other important stuff in that time period. Because one of the things the radar could do, the radar was frequency diverse and frequency agile.
Okay.
And you could have it transmitted across 4 bands, and you could have any one of 4 frequencies in each band.
Well, didn't you say the total bandwidth was like 2.75 to 3.25?
Yeah, because it's 500 megahertz centered at 3 gig. And if I remember right, they're 100 megahertz bands, and there's 4 spots. There's 4 spot frequencies in each band, but the actual bandwidth in each band is 60 megahertz. For each one is 60 megahertz, so they kind of overlap a little bit. But you still,
I would hope they would.
Yeah, they kind of have to, wouldn't they? But you had so you had you had a lower and upper side band, and you had 2 sets of lower upper side bands to work from.
Okay.
And so you would have.
Excuse me, I got a cough.
The frequency, so you'd always have a fixed distance between the 2 pulses in each pair of bands.
Okay.
But you could either just use one frequency, one oscillator all the time, or you could step through the 4 oscillators in turn, or you could randomly generate a new frequency, randomly generate the frequency you're going to pick for the next one each time, and it was actually a truly random value.
Nice.
Because we didn't use any sort of random number generator
calculation for it. Yeah.
We didn't calculate a random number. We actually counted signal noise.
Nice,
So every time,
nice.
every time the received signal went above a certain value, it clicked the counter around one, and and just and then just stepped around the 4 oscillators. But the final one was controlled random. So what it would do is it would compare a short time period of your current pulse. Yeah.
Okay.
Your current the current frequency you're operating on, and then it would randomly choose the next frequency, and in that intertrace period it would swap the receiver over to that and have a little look at what the noise was like on that spot frequency, and then it would integrate both signals, and it would pick the and then you would actually get the frequency that had the least amount of noise in the comparison for the next PRF.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah, but so so it would check to see if the newly picked frequency was going to be better than the frequency you're already on, and if it wasn't, you'd just stay where you were, and if it was, you'd move to the new one. So it was pretty good. It was pretty damn good at fighting jamming. Oh, and being being frequency diverse and agile. It also combined that with 60 megawatts of peak power output spread across 12 transmitters.
Oh man!
With 3 transmitters in each frequency band, and it got and in the maximum high power mode, you could push that 60 megawatts into a volume of sky that was about half a degree wide and 6 degrees high at the -3 dB points.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's a pretty tight section.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so you could burn through an awful lot of jamming with that.
Actually, that makes me bring up an argument against flat earthers. What the fuck are all our radio telescopes pointed at?
We don't have any.
Oh, we don't have any.
No.
So every telescope on Earth, radio or optical, is a CGI image that's planted on the back of the telescope. But how is a portable telescope getting a randomly generated computer graphic image? Oh, sorry, reasons. I forgot.
Yeah, you forgot that there's reasons.
My flurf logic is bad at times. Isn't that an oxymoron?
What, flurf logic?
Yeah. Look, lines.
Convergent lines.
I'm rubbing my eyes at the moment because I've only been awake for half hour. Yeah, see, if Flurf would look at that and go, look, flat horizon.
Just looks flat, therefore Earth must be.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get a flatulator in here so they get out. So what you got up on the graph there?
Alan? Hello? You muted, Alan?
Could be the plastic dragon. No, I'm rolling over some scenarios in my mind. The motor I was telling you about, or the generator I was talking about earlier.
Mm.
I'm kind of off in my own little private Idaho right now. He's presenting a graph. He's presenting a graph, but not putting any context to it. So I'm kind of doing my own thing at the moment.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's presenting that to us, but not to the audience.
How can you tell?
Because I can.
Yeah.
Because reasons.
Yeah.
Hocus pocus.
I'm out of focus.
Bugger. I've just been talking for an unknown length of time without anybody being able to hear me, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
Exactly. Care to try again?
When did I go silent?
When you put the picture up.
Oh, damn! Sorry, my apologies. I hadn't realised that.
Oh, you weren't even presenting it.
Okay. That's right. Now I hope everybody can hear me. The green line is the green line is the tangent.
You're not presenting. So everybody's looking at us and not your picture.
I am presenting. I am presenting in OBS. I am presenting in here, and
there
the
you
live
go.
stream is showing it. Yeah, there is quite a long delay for us, but they will have a delay on the audio as well. Remember.
Okay. And now they'll be going, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah, I'll say. The green line is basically a tangent line of sight at the surface of the Earth, which is projected out to just over 1 Earth radii, and shows what and shows what is shown on the Metabunk calculator as the hidden height H.
Right.
So it's the vertical. It's the drop. It's the distance from that line down to from the tangent line down to the ground level at the angle that you have to rotate through to get, so that it's a vertical line from the surface of the Earth. The red line is the bottom of the radar aerial radar beams that I used to work on at half a degree above the horizon, and the purple line is the top at 12.5 degrees. The end of the top end of the beam is actually just above the Kármán line, so you won't be flying any aircraft over the top of the radar into the cone of silence. Although of course you could stay below the red line. Although you're going to be under 100 meters. You're going to be around 100 meters when you get 10 kilometers out from where the radar is. To do that. So that you see something other than just a couple of tiny little red lines, a couple of tiny little lines at the bottom of the axes, and the green line whizzing up almost vertically at one end. I plotted them on log axes, which is why the green line looks almost straight.
No, it does. I can see just a minor curve
at the top
on that green line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, remember it is a log axis. So on a
yes, but your axis is on a curved surface.
Okay.
Yes. Well, no.
Yeah,
because
but it looks flat.
I'm looking. Yes, but remember those are straight lines of sight.
Mm.
So if it was a flat surface, all those lines would be parallel to the axis. Sorry, the green line would be parallel to the axis, and the red and purple lines would have a bit of curve because they go up at a fixed angle.
Yeah, but it looks flat, Alan. Remember that? It looks flat. Oh, that's another contradiction that the flat earthers make. They go, you can't trust your eyes, but it looks flat to me. The fuck?
I know. Yeah. I've pointed this out to them in the past. They didn't like that. No.
Yeah, but Shills, they don't like you no matter what you say.
Unpaid shill.
Really, nobody does.
I love talking to you guys because you make fun of even logical reasoning.
Well, everything is fair game in my book. Well, virtually everything. There are some things that you just sorry, you don't joke about them.
Like being balls deep and needing a cuddle.
Yeah, that.
how can I put this? And we all know this, that flat Earth has regressed back to its core directive of denial of everything and not present anything in favor of your
Did it ever
flat
leave?
Earth.
Well, I guess, yeah, for a while they proved things. The hell is that?
It's an unpaid shill.
Well, anyway, guys, I'll catch you later. Take care.
Okay,
Bye,
Catch you later, George. Crack it open.
What do you think that is? A Husqvarna chainsaw or a steel?
It's a McCulloch.
Oh God, those things. I wonder if it's sort of sputtering. All right, I am heading home to begin my Halloween extravaganza.
Now that.
Oh, you're going to blow people up on either side of the street?
On either side of the path, we do attempt to blow them up. I do detonate small explosions. The ghost is already flying. My wife has requested that I move my entire explosive thing over to a new location, so I now have to think out all the safety aspects of it in a new location.
If I were you, I'd put him right on his front door. And when he comes out to have his morning look at the street, just boom, 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 boom.
So that's what happens when you put it on linear axes.
Wow.
Oh, and I put the blue Kalman line in so that you could see it.
Okay.
Just
I anticipate 48,000 steps tomorrow.
Almost looks like you're plotting algebraic coordinates. Who would have thunk it?
Well, you have to.
I would have thunk it.
Yeah, you have to remember that that is essentially plotting the Earth as flat and showing you where a line of sight radio beam will go.
Funny that.
At the origin, you will only be able to hear it if you are above the green line. If you are transmitting from.
Yeah, but isn't it funny that you predict a flat plane, yet you get a curved line? I think unpaid shill's nose is what's actually making that line bend, not the Earth.
Hey, Alan, you can't, unless you're getting a mute out of this, you can't mute him.
But it gives us something to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep muting. In the past, I've kept muting him, and he keeps unmuting himself, and yeah, it becomes circular.
Yeah, unpaid shills is like our Bill Oddie, isn't he?
At first, I thought he was doing it during your presentation, the graphs, and I thought he was laughing.
I have thrown the mute button in for a minute because it was starting to hurt my ear, and I can't speak too loudly because they've now all gone to bed because it is 10:10. But the other thing you'll notice is the radar which just shows the line of sight over the distance where the receiver is active, is now a tiny little thing in the bottom left-hand corner. When you look at radio for when you look at the radio horizon out to One Earth radii.
Yeah, but that's that purple line is actually a very large distance.
It's 400. The red and purple lines are 400. Are line of sights of 450 kilometers.
But the Earth is round. How can you see that far? Because radio waves bend, numbnuts.
No, actually, they are microwaves, so they don't bend. That's why those lines are curved. If I now go back in there and
But you can't say that. Do you realise what you said just negates the other part? Microwaves are straight, but they bend. Sorry, I'm just trying to channel Flurf logic. You said straight lines bend. Ah. But I know what you mean, Alan. But wouldn't your microwaves do the same as that that record microwave distance did, and actually travel up to a certain point and then deviate?
You remember just how unusual
that was.
Those conditions are. I will admit that we had days where we could have propagation conditions where we had ducting and stuff going on, where we could get ground returns off of Holland all the way through to pretty much to the German border, all the way out to the full 450 kilometers.
Wow.
And remember, at 450 kilometers, the radar horizon is supposed to be 63,000 feet, or 19,000 meters.
Wow. But looks flat.
Just kidding. So did any flat earthers play today? Oh yeah. Truth Seeker. Wow, right? Plain truth.
Yeah, there we go. That's what happens when you plot it to 20,000 meters and 450 kilometers.
Wow.
I think that, and they are straight line of sights. So that is, if you wanted to put the.
But it's like you said. If it was a flat plane, those lines would curve, would they?
No, those lines. If it was a flat plane, those lines would be straight lines. And they would be the red line would be at 0.5 degree, and the purple line would be at 12.5 degrees. Assuming you used, you'd have to plot the you'd have to make the x-axis a lot longer, because obviously you would want to make the distance along each axis the same if you wanted to actually measure the angles at those number of degrees. But the slopes you would get would be 1/2 degree and 12.5 degrees, because we're looking at the red line is a line that would be projected at 1 degree, but we're looking at the bottom edge of a 1 degree wide beam elevated at 1 degree. So obviously that's at an angle of 1/2 degree, isn't it? But yeah, that's what happens when you plot those straight lines. And yes, that is assuming an R to plot them. But I can tell you something else. We never ever managed to get targets outside of that red and purple cut. So and I don't think I ever saw anything really weird on there either. No targets that suddenly moved at hypervelocity. Nothing at all.
I was driving through West Virginia. My car actually was going 1,200 miles an hour according to GPS. That was weird. It was very scary.
So you were driving at 1,200 miles per hour according to your GPS? Yeah, that would be scary. I guess your GPS system malfunctioned, didn't it?
Well, it's possible I was going 1,200 and I just didn't notice. But I probably lean more toward the GPS malfunctioning. I think I prefer to think I was going 1,200 though, because Chevy Trailblazer is really fast.
Oh, that you can break the speed of sound in a Chevy Trailblazer.
My equipment would say different. I did have conflicting information though, because my speedometer says I was doing 30.
Nah, GPS is more accurate than your speedometer.
Yeah. Get off my ass, copper.
Oh, he's probably trying to pull you over for breaking the speed of sound.
He's had his lights on for a couple of miles. I've had to swerve several times to get him from out behind me, but he keeps finding me again.
Excuse me. Well, to be honest, I think we might have come to that time of the evening where
I believe you have, Alan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm quiet in here.
Yes.
You diehards.
So I think it's definitely time to say good night to everybody out in YouTube land.
Good night, Al. Good night, YouTube. Good night, Jim Bob.
Yeah, good night, YouTube. Thank you very much for coming. I'm always amazed that we get this number of people listening to a bunch of old men chattering, as Hannah put
You
it.
still got 23 in the chat.
Yeah.
Hey,
24.
speak for yourself. I'm just over a half a century. I'm not that old.
Yeah.
You're older than me, so you're old. Even I'm old.
All right, I would start another conversation, but have a good evening.
Yeah, good night.